Well, good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. And, well, the world has gone indoors in recent weeks, but what better thing to do indoors than to get your game on? Welcome to the RaceRoom GP, featured on the Shanghai International Circuit on this wonderful Sunday. My name is James Kirk. I'm joined also on cameras and on commentary duties. Miguel, first time we've commentated together, so first of all, hi, nice to meet you. I hope we're going to have a great bit of racing to come our way. Lots of racing to come our way. 3 races in particular across 2 different categories. I think we're all going to have a great time, and I just hope that we're going to have some fantastic scraps throughout the entirety of the 2 fields that we're going to be seeing this evening.
Yes, indeed. Thanks, and also nice to meet you indeed. A long evening ahead of us, I think. 3 races in total, with our main event, the FRX race, in just a bit of time after the preparation race in the GT3. So I'm looking forward to it, indeed.
So what is our schedule coming up for all of you today? As we mentioned, there are 2 different categories that we're going to be featuring, and we're going to be very much running it like a proper Grand Prix weekend. So we have our little early spectacle, our little a little appetizer before we get into the main event, and that's going to be featuring the GT3 Cup cars today. We're currently 3 minutes into our 10-minute practice session before we head into a 15-minute qualifying session, and then we're going to be featuring 2 sprint races, both 25 minutes in length. The second race having a top 10 reverse grid. Anybody who knows me knows that I do adore a reverse grid. So that already exciting enough for one evening's entertainment. But then there's more. We're going to be moving into the aforementioned FR X-17 race, which is going to feature practice session and get another 15-minute qualifying, and then a brutal 70-minute endurance race where it's just going to be like Grand Prix racing never went away, but it's virtual racing. It's just as exciting. So get your snacks ready, get your drinks in you, and let's sit down and enjoy this together. It's going to be brilliant. A lot of names that people won't be recognizing necessarily, but there's also going to be quite a few names popping up that if you watch the EWTCR, if you watch the GT Masters from last year as well, there's a lot of names here that are willing to participate, and ultimately, it's not just for pride today, is it, Miguel?
No, indeed. It's the race is on, and there's 30 drivers on the grid on the server right now. Everybody getting up to speed with 5 minutes of practice left in this session, and well, where better to start this season off than at the Shanghai Grand Prix circuit? I must say, a great circuit for both these GT3 Cup cars and also the mimicking Formula 1 FR X-17 cars. This will be a cracker of 3 races, that's for sure.
Well, let's take a little closer look at the Shanghai International Circuit then, shall we? It's I guess, considered by many still to be one of the newer tracks on the Formula 1 calendar, but it's been here a long time. It's been here since, I think, God, when did it open even? Was it 2004? Yeah, so the Chinese Grand Prix itself has been hosted since 2004, so 16 years already. One of the longest circuits on that calendar as well, 5.4 kilometers, 3.3 miles, if you want to go that way, 16 turns, and a very difficult track to set up for, Miguel. Obviously, it's got one of the longest straights on the Formula 1 calendar as well, but you see through the first and second sectors, very technical sectors, and so being able to nail the setup here is a super difficult thing to start with, let alone to race around.
Yeah, indeed, that back straight, that enormous back straight will be really a sight to see with all the slipstreaming going on. That turn 14 will be a hotspot for passing opportunities for sure. And then, well, when I look at this circuit, I always look at turn 1. It's so incredibly difficult to get it right, and I think with these GT3s on the track right now, rubbering in the track for the FRX cars, it's going to be a challenge to get that turn 1 right every single time, because well, the rear with the engine in the back, it's going to be a challenge to keep your rear end from getting to the front. That's for sure.
And who's going to be taking on the challenge in these GT3 Cup cars? Well, let's take a little look at our first grid for today. We've already mentioned 30 drivers in and amongst there. Some names that you might recognize, the likes of Jan Courtois, Mark Balashin, two people who have been in and around Division 1 in multiple RaceRoom high-level competition. That said, who cares about the name when it's a new day, when it's a very new car as well? And ultimately, we look at the standings at the moment, and Balashin, the top of those two, currently in P5. In fact, it's a bit of an Italian, it's a bit of an Italian party up there in the top 5 currently.
It is,
with
yeah.
Rich Miles there in P3. But I tell you what, looking at those early practice timings, of which there's only 3 minutes left, of course, it's Scolari who is going to be feeling very comfortable indeed. Because it's a longer circuit, we're going to be expecting to see bigger time gaps between, say, first and last. But 4/10 between first and second, that is a mighty lead.
Yeah, 4/10 is enormous in this spec series. Huh? So the setups are not fixed, but still it's all the cars are the same. So it's purely down to driver skill and setup work. And I think on this track, most importantly, it's the line that you take through all of these turns. It's quite technical, as you said. You have a bit of breathing room on the back straight to relax, but the qualifying laps will be a sight to see, that's for sure.
All right, let's focus in on the action then as we join the drivers for the final 2 minutes here. Okay, it's not the highest tier necessarily, but nevertheless, it's the RaceRoom Grand Prix. This is an event that has been looked forward to by many a driver. It's a chance for many of these drivers who haven't appeared on a big RaceRoom stream before to now do so, to show off their caliber to whatever teams or fellow drivers might be interested in. You know, it's a proving ground for many. And what sort of thoughts are going to be running through the minds here? Because I'd imagine that there will be a lot of people here. Remember, 3 races to compete in 2 different grids. So this grid, I guess, a little bit lucky in that they have 2 races to compete across, including reverse grid top 10 situation in the second race coming up for these GT3 Cup challenges. What's going to be running through their minds? I mean, obviously these are not exactly long races either, Miguel. They're short. They're 15-minute sprints. Obviously, you don't want to throw everything away in the first corner because there isn't going to be enough time to recapture any sort of positions.
No.
But yeah, how are you going to be approaching this as someone who's got something to prove?
Well, you're on the main stream here. You're driving against guys that you might know. As you said, there's a good Italian delegation. They're all inside their homes, of course. So I think just take it easy. Even if it's a 25-minute race, there's plenty of opportunities to pass in these cars. And 25 minutes doesn't seem like a long time, but it can be. That's for sure. With 2 minutes, 2 minutes 7.1 for Scolari at the moment. It's quite a long lap, as you said. So just take it easy, I would hope, especially through turn 1 in the opening lap. That will be the challenge to get through. But then just settle in and, well, try to get into that top 10. I think that must be the goal in the first race. Get your qualifying time in the 15-minute session, and then in the first race try to stay within that top 10 and get a good run for race 2. These guys indeed not well-known names mostly, but who knows which talents we come to see here tonight. So we'll see who can prove themselves here on the track as they all head out of the garage for the qualifying session.
It all begins here in qualifying. 15 minutes on the clock, and as per regular RaceRoom rules, once that time hits 0, that is qualifying done and dusted. There is going to be no completion of your last lap. If you are halfway around the circuit when the time hits 0, I got bad news for you, buddy. You're not going to complete your lap. And so 15 minutes, one of the longer qualifying sessions that these guys will be taking part in. Again, it's a longer circuit though, so they're going to have to make the most of these laps while they count, going going on board and online, I guess, in a certain sense, with the man who topped the practice session by 4/10 in the end, Luca Scolari, the Italian. and we're just going to go round on this opening lap. I think I'll hand the little lap off to you once we get going with Luca. But right now, preparation keys. He looks to warm the tyres and to set inciters, and I guess more crucially as well, with 30 drivers on the grid as well, make sure that he's got enough space for himself.
Yeah, indeed. 32 to be exact now. So the server is completely full, and indeed, as you see, Luca taking it very easy to get into a clear gap, because well, if you are the fastest car on the track, or you expect to be the fastest one, then you want to have some room in front, as the guys in front are very close to each other indeed. So they need to just take it easy and get a good lap in. But again, a long lap, and that means that you won't get that many qualifying opportunities. This will be a very important spot to get right, out of turn 13 and onto the long back straight. So I'm guessing Scolari now warming up his brakes and his tires, and he has someone right behind, and the guys in front are also slowing down. So that's what I was fearing. Everybody now trying to get some clean air, but they won't get it. That's for sure. So Scolari trying to find a gap, but there's just many more behind him. So he's let's see what he can do here.
You know what, he's in theory being very smart by just letting people by, but a lot of people have just jumped the queue, so to speak, and now he's got to just hope that the people who are ahead of him aren't that much slower. I tell you what, the difference between first and last in that practice session, 5 seconds or so. So he's going to have to hope for the best. Miguel, I will leave you with this one as you take us around Shanghai International Circuit.
Yeah, so on board with Luca Scolari. At the 50-meter board, he needs to start braking, and then you need to get it slowed down just a little bit tighter, I would think. But then the long right-hander. This will be a very important point on lap 1 as well. Getting through this section cleanly, and then on the power as early as you can, and track out to the right on the curbs. Down this, well, quite longish back straight as well, hard braking. A bit reminiscent of Bahrain, I think, as well, and Malaysia. Then almost getting to the first sector point. Long left-hander here to set yourself up through these S's. As you can see, these guys are hardly ever full power through the turns, so that's the difficult part here. Looks very slow, I must say, in these cars, but it's just so difficult to keep everything tidy. But as we see, Scolari setting a 57.8 in the first sector, and the guy in front aborting his lap already, hard braking. And now, as I said, he needs to get this exit absolutely perfect to set a good benchmark lap, because there's more to come, of course, but a good benchmark lap, at least for me, has always been a very important start to a qualifying session. So this straight keeps going on and on and on. Sector 2 then, a 135.9 as the first times are coming in. House was briefly in first, Joni now in first, hard braking for turn 14. Very tidy by Scolari. So let's see what kind of lap time he sets. He doesn't get hampered by the back marker there. Leaves some good room, and then on the power once again to get across the line. And let's see where that puts Luca Scolari over the line, and he goes first at 208.0. So a bit off his top practice time, but a good benchmark, and in first at the moment, so that will boost his confidence for sure.
And Andrea De Stefanis as well, they're making it an Italian 1-2-3 with Eros Fijoni rounding out that top three, but much closer. As you say, there's still time to find for Scolari based on what we saw on free practice, but either way, you also make a very good point. You do not want to start your qualifying session off on the wrong foot. You want to lay down a marker and say, listen, this is how I intend to start, this is how I intend to finish. House, and behind him, I'm going to try and go for Fitama Hamadi. If I've butchered that, Ben, I do apologise. I think we will just probably stick with Hamadi going forward. That's already a nice benchmark from Scolari as the Italians reign 1-2-3. There is just half the session to go. Time is a cruel mistress in qualifying, especially on a long circuit like this.
Yeah, indeed. And Jan Courtois, a very purple first sector, 7/10 up. So he's already across the second timing line, still 4/10 up almost. So will he get hampered by the guy on the inside there? I hope not. No, he needs to let him go. So that's quite lucky for Courtois. Let's see if he can get the last corner right. That will surely put Scolari under pressure. Courtois currently in 11th, so...
Let's see, he crosses the line and here it comes now. That puts him up to P4. That's a lot better than his time, but you've got to wonder whether he did lose a little bit from that car, just diving down the inside. And I was going to make a point, actually, as for Joni goes to the top now by just shy of 200ths, and Rich Miles, who is in the top 3, now onto provisional pole himself, just under 2/10 ahead of Fijoni. But here comes Scolari with a response of his own, and Caserta's going to get there before him by 2/10. Scolari's going to usurp all of them once again by another 10th. It is Italians absolutely blocking out the top 10 there. The only one in the top 7 who isn't Italian is Rich Miles, who's in to P3. They may have been in lockdown longer than the rest of us, Miguel, but goodness me, have they been practicing for this?
Yeah, they have. Rich Miles has his work cut out for him. Would be nice if he can get to the front just to show them what's what. But, well, very nice lap by Scolari, and he's very much the guy we need to be watching. Robert House setting a green sector in Sector 1. He's in 9th at the moment, but looking at the times, Duare currently last of the time setters, almost 6 seconds down, so that's quite a gap for the Frenchman to make up, but he still has 6 minutes left in this session to do so.
Yeah, so the point, going quickly back to watching that initial Scolari lap, a lot of respect shown. If you mess up your lap, then you move out the way for others behind you, and it was a shame to see very much the opposite situation of a car trying to overtake another car during qualifying. Like, yes, it does happen, but these, as you said previously, they're spec cars, and so it's not like one car is expected to be faster than the other. You just got to deal with the hand that you're given sometime, and Luca Pellegrini finds himself with a lot of space ahead of him. 2 purple sectors as well. Pellegrini was up in the top 5 in practice. Let's see whether the Italian can make it a 1-2-3 with Rich Miles down to 4th.
Yeah, Scolari and Di Stefanis are also setting purple times at the moment, so we'll have to see. Pellegrini crossed the line and goes into second, 60 thousandths of a second only. Will be crossing the line now, and there will be time for one more time lap, I think. 5 minutes to go. Scolari improves, stays in first, but puts a bit of a bigger gap between him and Pellegrini.
He's very much in the groove. Is Luca Scolari, looking very nice indeed.
And a very nice livery as well.
Yes, indeed. Can't go wrong with your home colours. I mean, it's that Castrol green and red as well, so synonymous with the Lanciers of old in the Rally Championship. But great to see him at least repping his country's colours and doing them proud as well up there in P1. Just about 5 minutes left on the clock now, so I think you're very much right. Only one lap now for drivers to get it done. They do have a bit of leeway in terms of getting out the garage, but if you didn't leave in the last 30 seconds or so, then you're probably going to be leaving it a little bit too late. Down to the bottom of the pack then, and to Corentin Bourillon, who is down in P30, so not dead last, but unfortunately a lot of time to find over the next man ahead of him, Williams, who is 1.2 seconds ahead.
Yeah, indeed, and Scolari has kept going, so not coming in to the pits, but he kept going. He's setting himself up now for the long back straight once again, as all the other guys are currently on their out laps, it seems. So Scolari, this will be his last attempt here in this qualifying session, and then we'll have to see if any of his countrymen can take the fight to him. But 92 thousandths of a second up at the moment, and I see Jan Courtois has put himself in 8th, so he has put himself in front of Miraglia to be, well, together with House, one of the 3 non-Italians in the top 10. Scolari then through the last turn. Oh, goes a bit wide there. Not sure if that will count. Think it will.
Been very clever following the slipstream as well, isn't he? But unfortunately,
he went quicker.
Oh, he did, yeah. No, you're right. Yeah. You're absolutely right. By quite some margin as well.
Yeah.
That was a bit of a misread on the final sector there. Up to or down to rather, a 207.2, we'll say. I mean, it's 1,000th off a 3, but we'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Gauntlet laid. Who can reach within even a 10th of Scolari? We're going to find out in the last 3 minutes.
Yeah. Many guys now setting green times, but no purples at the moment to be seen. So Andrea De Stefanis for Absolute Motorsport going through turn 1 and on the power as early as he can, and well, Scolari is still staying out, so might have taken quite a bit of fuel there to just put in some laps here at the end of the session. He might still go a bit quicker. Rich Miles then, he's in 4th at the moment, improving on his own time. He has half a second to find. Oh, ooh. He won't find it like that.
That was a little too hot, a little too spicy. I mean, that's such a deceptive corner as well, isn't it, Miguel?
It is, yeah.
You really want to just take it with a little bit more oomph, but you do have to slow down. You have to be patient for it, especially since it's so crucial leading into the clockwise, ever-opening turn number 13. Just a little bit too hot-hoofed, unfortunately, on that occasion, and he's going to remain in P4 for now, unless somebody behind him improves. And improving indeed is Andrea De Stefanis, who has set a purple first sector. Let's see what he can do in this second sector now. That looks like a really nice exit moving out onto the back straight here. The timing board is somewhere along the first part of this back straight, and there it is. But unfortunately, we didn't see the majority of that second sector, and it wasn't too good.
Nope, doesn't seem like it. He's the only one who set a purple first sector. So at the moment, nobody improving or, well, overshadowing Luca Scolari.
And yeah, he's completely lost it, unfortunately. That was an amazing first sector, but crashes out in spectacular fashion. And Rich Miles' 4th place is going to be safe for another minute, but I wonder just how many other people are now out on track to even try and beat that time.
Not too many, actually. Scolari is still driving, but I don't think he's really pushing at the moment. And then we have Miraglia and House who are still on track, so the rest of the top 10 is already back in the pits. So that would be it for pole position, I think, for this session. But, well, as we said, nothing is lost because we have a reverse grid top 10 in race 2. So that will spice things up even more. But firstly, we have to get into that first race and through that first race, as we already get confirmation of the times here.
God, Absolute Motorsport are going to be rubbing their hands together.
Indeed, yeah.
I mean, goodness me, 6 Italians inside the top 10. Oh, sorry, I lie. 7 Italians inside the top 10. 6 of them inside the top 7. It is Luca Scolari with pole position. Rich Miles, a very lonely Brit there in P4. Jan Courtois, plenty of top-level experience to call upon the virtual driver's driver in there as well. But for Luca Scolari, a pole position by over 3.5 tenths, Miguel. That is an ominous sign to the rest of the field. Yes,
indeed. He repeated what he did in qualifying, and the rest of the guys will need to try and put the pressure on, but they can't do that if they start tripping over each other. So turn 1 will be crucial here, as we have 30 seconds left on the clock to start this race. We have 32 drivers on the grid here for the RaceRoom GP at Shanghai main event. And let's see what kind of spectacle these GT3 Cup cars can bring us, shall we?
It's time for the appetizer. The RaceRoom Grand Prix evening starts now with the first of 2 sprint races featuring the GT3 Cups. On Luca Scolari, what can he do from pole position? Such a dominant performance so far. Will he be able to carry that over when it matters most? The lights illuminate above the drivers when they turn green. We're going to be racing at Shanghai International Circuit, and it does look to have been a decent launch from Luca Scolari, who's going to be unopposed heading into turn 1, but around the outside, is this going to be Caserta looking to assert Pellegrini? No, Pellegrini's going to keep it on the inside, keep P2, but look at Rich Miles launching it up the inside. He sees a gap, he's going to try and sneak his way through, but this first sector wraps around constantly. It keeps on changing direction. And so Rich is instantly going to be put on the back foot once again as Luca Pellegrini is going to try and go for this P1 immediately.
Can he get the braking right here? It was a small incident there with William Barrera in the background, but side-by-side action here for the race lead. Can Pellegrini challenge Scolari there? As we see some puffs of smoke in the background. Everything's still very much bunched up here throughout this first sector. Scolari needing to go quite defensive here. It's not like he's running away with it.
He's going for
to
it.
The inside. Very, very close.
This is a spirited effort in the battle of the Lucas, but they're going to have to be careful because the more that they fight in these opening stages, the more drivers are going to get caught up in it. So you can already see Caserta, Miles, and Joni all coming into rearview mirror touching distance as we head our way around turn 13 for the first time of asking on board with Luca Scolari. And of course this back straight, there's no DRS or anything like that to help with the drag down this straight. It's all going to be pure exit speeds versus slipstreaming, and you can see that Scolari's exit was particularly good on this occasion. And so although Pellegrini's eating up all this slipstream on the first lap, he's nowhere near within striking distance once we hit the hairpin. Although that said, Scolari went a little deep himself, and so Pellegrini back in the fight. But at the end of lap 1, it is going to be Luca Scolari who leads, from Pellegrini, Caserta, Miles, Joni, Miraglia, Balashin, House, Courtois and Schultz rounding out the top 10. Further back in the field, Fabian Meyer just going a little wide. And is he going to lose position here to Hamadi? Maybe so, Hamadi forcing his way up the inside here of turn 1. And that was a lovely and decisive move, going to try and cut him off so that he doesn't cut back in. And very nicely done from the French driver, who's up to P13. Yeah,
Hamadi up into P13 and has his sights set on Luca Rettenbacher now. Let's see if he can get close to him. But the gap at the front still under half a second, and we have, I think, our whole top 12, let's say. Yeah, top 12 within top 14 within 10 seconds. So everything's still up for grabs here in this first race. Who's in P10? It's Thomas Schultz. So a couple more other nationalities than Italians here in the top 10 at the moment. So they Robert House, Thomas Schultz, they were battling it out. Yep, Schultz just got past. So Robert House is currently the one to watch for pole position in race 2. It's a bit early, I know, but still, we need to see what happens there. And he has well, many angry Porsches behind him to try and get that position from him.
Again, you want to make your first moves count, and I've got to say, I am super impressed with Pellegrini at the moment. Well, I don't know whether to be super impressed with Pellegrini or a little disappointed with Scolari. Maybe a bit of both. I was expecting Scolari, based on free practice and qualifying, to just romp away in the early stages of this race, but not on this occasion. As wow, this is going to be a name and a half. Gian-Claudio Croce, I'm going to go for.
Yeah, that sounds good.
That's a very nice dive there, down into the hairpin once again, and up to P10. He is a Robert House now excluded from that potential top 10 reverse scraper. Look at this again. Pellegrini has been harrying the back of Scolari all day long so far, and Rich Miles as well has an Italian of his own, Caserta, to watch out for. So we've got two duos here, three duos even, if you consider Joni and Miraglia behind as well, splitting off into these individual battles, everyone keeping each other company in these lonely times. How lovely to see.
Yeah, indeed. Rich Miles just got past Caserta coming out of the last turn, I saw, so he's up into P3 now. Can he get close to these squabbling Italians? Pellegrini very much in the hunt, so did he have a better race setup than Scolari? Could be that Scolari was very much focused on qualifying, not so much on the race, and even if it's only a 25-minute race, that can cost you for sure.
I'm going to say here, though, having commentated on many a series where we have these sorts of sprint race and then reverse grid sprint races, you do want to lean in slightly towards qualifying, because ultimately that's going to put you up the sharp end when it matters in race number 1. And okay, you might fall back a little bit, but in a championship setting at the very least, and I know this isn't a championship setting, this is a one-off event, of course, but in a championship setting, you don't mind falling back a bit, because then you're going to have that good luck in race number 2 of thinking, well, it doesn't matter how far down in the top 10 I fall, as long as I remain inside that top 10, I'm just going to be put back up into another good position for race number 2.
Yeah, indeed. Pellegrini not going for it. He was too far back there. Oh,
Sleep again.
Scolari a little bit wide. I have a feeling that Scolari's running just a little bit less wing than Pellegrini. Pellegrini seems to be carrying a lot more speed through the corners, but can't really pass Scolari because he's just pulling away on the straights. Let's see if that is true. Just showing his nose on the inside here.
God, you can see just how much more pace he's running through turn 1, can't you?
Yeah, indeed. You could also see both guys squirming on the brakes through that turn 1. That's incredibly difficult in these cars for sure. Let's have a quick look here in P6. Caserta has dropped back. He was in 4th behind Miles, but he got passed by Joni and Miraglia now.
He must have made a mistake though, because I mean there was a good second gap between Miles, Caserta, and what was at the time Joni Miraglia, and I mean now he's down in P6 and he's got Marc Balashin and Jan Courtois for company. Of course, those two probably the more well-known names out of this field, and they'll be wanting to call upon this experience to think, well, we got someone who's a little bit unsettled perhaps in front of us. We can take advantage of this.
Yeah, indeed. Well, many of these guys not known, but plenty of experience, it seems like it at least. Very well behaved first few laps, and and everybody really doing a good job in keeping the racing fair, not making any stupid moves. So that's very nice to see indeed, and well, brings some confidence for race 2 as well, because reverse top 10 grid is a challenge, that's for sure.
I tell you what, the not the Bahrain Grand Prix drivers could learn a lot from this lot, actually. It's been incredibly clean so far, and that's great to see. I mean, for me, this is what sim racing is all about. It's having that same level of respect that you would expect to find in real life racing when there are lives on the line, and translating it over to a virtual setting where, yes, people are more emboldened to go for moves because, okay, you don't have millions of dollars of car parts or, as I say, more importantly, lives on the line, but it's more exciting because we can see those moves come off in the most spectacular of fashions. And Caserta here, he has made a mistake, but he seems to have gotten back on track now. In fact, Miraglia, I notice, has fallen behind Marc Balashin in P6. I don't know whether that was a mistake or whether Balashin is starting to ramp up his pace now, whether he's gotten into the groove quite comfortably. But one thing is for sure, Miraglia is dropping like a stone. Courtois makes a move through turn 1.
Yeah, indeed. Well, these 5 guys were squabbling in the back straight, so there might have been a touch or two there. But Caserta, as you say, P5 right now, and he has a bit of pace over the guys behind, it seems. Balashin dropping back, but he's very much looking in his rearview mirror. That's for sure. And as you said, there's been so much sim racing the last few days. There's so much material that you could go through here for these last few days. It's incredible, but very nice to see all of the viewers here for this race in as well, tuning in for the RaceRoom GP and getting to know some of these new drivers and maybe bearing witness to the birth of a new star. Who knows? Luca Scolari at the moment, still 5 tenths up on Pellegrini, but Pellegrini very much in the hunt.
Yes, I mean, Scolari impressed me in qualifying, no doubt, but Pellegrini really is putting up a monumental effort. I mean, remember, he was beaten by 3 tenths in free practice. He was beaten by over 3 tenths in qualifying. And so you'd expect, 3 tenths per lap. I mean, we should be expecting Scolari to be, 2, 3, 4 seconds ahead of Pellegrini by this point. He has not left that rear wing by more than a second across the entirety of this race so far, of which 10 minutes has elapsed. I think that's super impressive. Oh my word, all sorts of long into the braking zone for Alessandro there, who falls yet another position into P9, into P8 now, sorry. Looks like he was able to just about save P8 from the clutches of Thomas Schulze, but maybe now we see why Miraglia has been struggling so far. Those brakes look way too forward set. He's struggling to stop.
Yeah, indeed, and Balachin and Courtois very lucky to escape there. Just went in between them, and Thomas Schulze wants to get past Miraglia as soon as he can to put a bit of space between him and Rettenbacher, and especially House, who's is in P11. That's not the position you want to be in at the moment. But Thomas Schulze, can he mount a challenge? Not the greatest exit here onto the first back straight, so we will have to try and fight that time elsewhere. Meanwhile, the gap at the front just growing ever so slightly. Now getting close to about 1 second between the two Italians. So Scolari taking the lead and not giving it away. It's now a question of not making any mistakes and keeping your pace, but that's easier said than done, of course.
Everything is easier said than done, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it's so nice for us to be judging and commentating on these guys, but to actually do it for real is a very different prospect indeed. We're just on the precipice of halfway through this first 25-minute race, and of course remember we've got not just race 2 coming up for these GT3 Cups featuring a reverse grid of the top 10, but we then have our main event featuring the FR X-17s, which is sure to be a treat as well. That's going to be a 70-minute slog as Luca Pellegrini again on the brakes, but no way through on Luca Scolari. I am very curious to know your thoughts on this, Miguel. Is Pellegrini just biding his time until the final 10 minutes before he launches an attack, or do you think it is genuinely a case of Scolari is so close but yet so far?
He might be biding his time. He's again only 3 tenths behind now, so a good lost sector for him. And well, when I'm racing myself, when I can keep this close to someone for 10-15 minutes, you know you have some pace in hand, but you just need to try and get past in a clean way, of course, and that's the most difficult in these cars, especially if my idea of Pellegrini just running a little bit less downforce is true, then it will be a challenge for Pellegrini to get past. But look at how close he is here. He's really mounting up the pressure, and well, Scolari absorbing that all at the moment, but if that checkered flag comes closer, the pressure will start rising if they're still that close, and that's the moment of truth. Then you need to try and stay there. Once again, very stable indeed, these cars. Yeah.
I think there might have been questions if he had taken the position on the back of that corner. Yeah. There was a little contact there, and Pellegrini looks for the position now. He's going to dive down the inside,
yeah, he's got it.
What a move
like
by, a class joker. He was pressuring and pressuring the substitute teacher, waiting for them to explode. And okay, there was a little bit of contact, quite literal unsettling of the car, but Pellegrini is through.
Yeah, very nice move indeed, and as we predicted, biding his time, and now we will have to see if he can run away with it, or if Scolari can keep close. As we have Rich Miles in third, he's quite lonely. We see him there in the background, running his own race in third spot. Very well done. And let's see if he can get closer to these squabbling too. If these guys start swapping places for the next couple of laps, Rich Miles could be the one to take it all away from them.
Just under 10 minutes left of this first sprint race.
Yeah, as we have behind a big battle with Thomas Schultz, Rettenbacher and Miraglia. That's all inside the top 10. That is for top 10 positions actually.
Oh wow, dive down the inside from Rettenbacher, and that is going to be P9 on a plate. We see here Schultz trying to keep the pace around the outside, but as soon as Rettenbacher took the inside line, there was no coming back from that. And you're going to feel bad if you're Robert House there, not just in P11, looking at this battle happening ahead of you, but he's got Cloutier and Meyer behind as well, who are eager to take that P11 away from him. He's not having the opportunity to try and reel these guys back in, because while they do battle, they are going to be running at a slower pace.
Yeah, indeed. But this top 10, or well, battle with Schultz, Rettenbacher and Miraglia could well play in the hands of Robert House in the longer run. Of course, only 9 minutes to go, but still, it's far from over. As if we look at the top 10 now, just 5 Italians left. Yeah, 5 indeed. Yeah. So we have some of the Germanic guys, and then Rich Miles in P3 and Jan Courtois in P7.
There's Rettenbacher going for P8 now on Miraglia. That is 2 positions in the space of half a lap. He is having a blinder on this occasion, Luca Rettenbacher. And the question is now, can he hold on to it? I mean, that's a really dangerous place to overtake someone, of course, given that you now have the entirety of this back straight to slipstream in response. Indeed.
We're just having a look. Scolari just went in front here through the last turn. Got into the slipstream of Pellegrini. Oh, that very nicely done, guys. Yep. But that puts Scolari back in first.
That was a lot of respect given from Luca Scolari. He did not have any need to close off that corner. To be fair, though, he did save his car, given how aggressively Pellegrini went on the response. So Scolari retakes the lead, and further behind, I think Rettenbacher has gotten away with P8, so Miraglia up to P9 rather. So Schultz now back down to P10. These 3 scrapping away, and I think you're absolutely right. Yes, Robert House is in P11. Yeah. Yes, he's not particularly close, but if they do keep scrapping as hard as they are, then I mean, this race has been far too clean so far, Miguel. There, I'm sure there's a mistake creeping in somewhere.
Yeah,
for example.
Yeah, House now within 1 second, and also I saw Rich Miles visually quite a bit closer to Scolari and Pellegrini as well for the top positions.
Oh, Caserta. Oh, Figoni. Oh, Figoni. Hello. Figoni down to P6. What's this? I think Figoni's just had a bit of a spin down at the hairpin. Balashin up to P5 and Caserta up to P4.
Yes, indeed. He did have a slight spin there. The Absolute Motorsports driver down into P6 now, but nothing lost. He has Jan Courtois behind. Can he move up another spot, Courtois?
And so as strong as the Italians were in qualifying, you rightly point out they're starting to splinter away now.
Yeah.
Miraglia just on the edge of the top 10. And Robert House is right there with him if the standings do not lie. He's more than that. I mean, look at Cloutier as well.
So this is for pole position.
Yeah.
It is the battle for pole position here. 12th position for Cloutier. Of course, he needs to make up 2 spots if he wants to get that, but it's looking very nice indeed for P11 now. House leaves the inside open. Of course, the exit of the turn 14 is known to be good for an undercut. Oh, squirmish on the brakes, oh my god. But House loses the position at the moment. Oh, just a small tap there, but they keep it very tidy indeed as Croce goes wide and Joni trying to put Courtois under pressure. Courtois moving up one spot as well, up into P6 now.
And back up at the front, I noticed that the gap has reopened to Pellegrini. In fact, Pellegrini, for the first time since the start of the race, really, at that point, over a second away from Scolari. He looks to be stabilising once again at 8 to 9 tenths, but Scolari has found an extra gear to move into. We'll monitor that one. But right now, P7 is very much where our eyes are going to be focused. A mistake from Jan Courtois.
Yep.
And for Joni, is he going to sweep around the outside here? He's got a great line to do it, and he has done so. P6 recaptured.
Yeah, so even the slightest mistake loses you time and, most importantly, positions. So that's how close it is here in this first round of the GT3 Cup race here at Shanghai. How's it looking for our top 10 spots? Let's see. Robert House is in 11th. Fabian Meyer.
Oh, Schultz has dropped to 14th. That's why.
Oh, yeah, indeed. Schultz is down in 14th. So he did have some kind of incident. Well, if there haven't been any incidents, we haven't seen them on camera. So
yeah.
Of course, we're not looking for those. We're looking for the good action, but just some slight incidents.
We're not deliberately trying to avoid them.
No,
we're just not on the camera at the right time to necessarily see them, and that's a shame for Schultz. But we can't say that we didn't call it. It had been a little too clean. It'd been a little too perfect across the rest of the field, and Croce wants a little more. Miraglia cuts him off at the corner. And Croce's got to be careful because Robert House has been biding his time, and with 3.5 minutes left, he knows that time is very short to find himself on pole position for race number 2.
Yes, indeed, he has a bit of a gap behind. Well, a bit of a gap, 10 seconds he has behind, so Robert House can firmly put his eyes to the front to try and get past Miraglia and Croce.
I don't like the state of Croce's brakes, I'm going to be honest
with
you.
Indeed.
Looks absolutely terrifying.
Yeah, it does. He's either too late on the brakes or they're already worn out or too hot, maybe. That could also be the case. As we need to also give a big shout out to all of the other drivers we have not been focusing on. Everybody doing a great job. Gaps are really not that big throughout the whole field, and we have had 3 retirements so far in this race. That's Xavier Douare, Thomas Eder and Andrea De Stefanis, who was, if I'm reckoned correctly, he was in the top 10 qualifying, so he dropped out of this race, but still 29 drivers running as Croce now flashing his lights. He's feeling the pressure of Robert House. He wants to get into that P9 and get away from all that drama that's going to unfold in the next 2 minutes. As Scolari and Pellegrini have now really opened up the gap to Miles. That gap was too wide.
Oh, have they both gone round?
Well,
no, only one of them went round, and that one who went round was Robert House.
Yeah, and he's not losing a position because he had a 10-second gap.
But that's P10 done.
Yeah,
surely.
That's P10 done. That's Miraglia now in P10. But does he want P9? Do you want P2 here for race 2 or not? I mean, you have 1.5 minutes left, so one more lap after this one. So that's a choice that you can make. But I think these guys are all racers. They want to get every position that they can. As you said, if you're in a championship, you might just let this go. But if you're on
he's gone!
Yeah,
his brakes have absolutely done it for him.
Yeah, I think so too, indeed.
And House has got P10!
Yeah.
It wasn't over! It wasn't over for him! He's got P10! He's going to be laughing all the way home!
Yeah, so that's how unexpected it can be. And the gap between the House, Croce and Meyer is now Yeah, not that big actually. So just needs to keep it together here for this lap. But let's have a quick look here at Scolari because he's already into Sector 2.
He's not checked out, but what he has done is he has extended that gap past the second. And that's basically meant that regardless of Pellegrini's wing settings, the slipstream pickup is going to be nowhere near as good as it was. And I do wonder, Miguel, whether Luca Pellegrini burned his tyres just a little early, whether he launched that attack just a little early, because Scolari bounced back and hasn't looked troubled since.
No, indeed. Well, if he did know he had that move in him, he could have waited 10 more minutes and gotten P1 maybe. But well, the opportunity presented itself and he just went for it. But Scolari got back at him and he will win race 1 here at the Shanghai Grand Prix circuit with Pellegrini in second and Rich Miles. Yeah, he will finish in third in this race. So I think we have a very nice, a bright next race to look forward to as well. But Scolari through the last turn and he will take the win here at Shanghai. Very well done to Luca Scolari and Luca Pellegrini, that's for sure. And I must say Rich Miles as well. As I said, a bit of a lonely race for him, but P3 is something you can brag about in these kind of races.
Very lonely P3, but a well-earned P3 nonetheless. Caserta, Badashin, Courtois down in P6 with
that
Joni.
was close.
That was close, actually, behind for Courtois and Joni, who, of course, was on the recovery track. Rettenbach are going to pick up P8, and Miraglia and House will pick up the final top 10 positions. Croce, apparently his brakes were just good enough to stay ahead of Florian Mayer there in P12, and look at Catalano as well, another Italian getting involved in P13. But Robert House is going to be on pole position for race number 2. Alessandro Miraglia as well going to be on the front row alongside him. I am looking forward to race 2, of course. It's one thing to say, yes, I won from the front. Scolari, stopping free practice, pole position, the race 1 win. That's all fair and well. But how are you going to fare when you're put right back into the midfield?
Oh yeah, I've seen guys, top runners, really struggle with that reverse top 10 grid. It is a challenge. It's something you need to be prepared for, and I think I heard someone say on stream yesterday, you just need to focus on the position ahead, not first position. You don't need to think about that position yet. If you're in P9, you just need to go one by one, pick them off one by one if you have the pace, if you have the opportunities, and then you will end up where you deserve. Of course, 25 minutes is not a long time, but I've seen it happen, and we'll see if it happens today.
I mean, certainly the pace was there.
Yeah,
but it's your old Red Bull days Sebastian Vettel argument of, oh, he's all fair and well, leading from the front, but can he actually battle? I get the feeling he can, and we saw that in race number 1, didn't we, between Scolari and Pellegrini. Scolari was not in full control of that race until the final 5 minutes.
Yeah, indeed. So he fought back, because sometimes when you're in P1 and you get past, you just lose concentration and you start messing up, you start overdriving the car, and Scolari did not do that. He just got back into the groove and got back at Pellegrini. But we're already here without any big breaks for another 25 minutes race. It's over to you, James.
House, you can see him on the right there with the predominant black nose. The lights go green, and it's time for race number 2. How will House fare? He's going to go for a very wide berth into turn number 1. He's inviting people in, but he sweeps around and ensures that P1 remains his. Miraglia, though, has already lost a position off the line. He's going to try and recover it now as we head round turns 1, 2,
House
and 3.
is off.
Midfield. And House is off.
Yeah.
I didn't even register that, but he's onto the grass as well. And no shorter was his reign. Down to P6 already, and Miraglia takes the lead. Oh, and that's a lagging car. Oh dear, that's a lagging car. It's Courtois who actually takes the lead through wizardry and magic, apparently.
Yes, indeed. Oh, Courtois going a bit wide there. He has Caserta and Miraglia. Yeah, well, it's 3 wide almost, as we have a car off it there in the background, but they go side by side through this left-right hand sweeper. Rettenbacher as well in P3, going 3 wide through this left-hand kink.
Very defensive as well, Miraglia. Oh my word, Robert House, he sent it, and that is a massive incident. A lot of cars coming through. The cars who were involved trying to move off to the side. Let's see who was involved. It was Rettenbacher, Courtois, of course, the starter of that incident, our pole sitter House, who's going to be head in hands. And so Miraglia, Caserta, and we would talk. Oh no, House wasn't involved. My apologies. So he's up in P4. So it must have been.
Yeah, he's still in P4. Indeed.
Yeah, so he's still okay.
But the guys here in the background recovering, and off we go to that first back straight and see. Let's see what happens there, as everybody is still very, very close.
Look at Scolari and Pellegrini. They're up to P3 and 4 already.
Indeed. So that's what can happen.
Oh, there is
House.
Oh my word! Sending up the inside of Pellegrini. This for P4, and he's gonna squeeze his way. Oh no, my apologies. That was for P6, I guess. Yeah, Balashin. Wrong car we're looking at. Either way. End of lap 1, and it's Miraglia who leads from the front row. Caserta, Scolari, Pellegrini and Croce ensure that it is a top 5 Italian lockout. Forget the lockdown. It's House in 6 with Balashin, Catalano, Jonque and Sestina up in P10. Where is Miles? Rich Miles down in P23. His brother, I believe, David Miles, up in P11.
Yeah, indeed. Daniel Miles in P11, as we have our whole top 20 streaming through turns 1 and 2 now. And Alessandro Miraglia still holding on to that first position, but everything still very much bunched up, and we'll have to have a look at Courtois, Rettenbacher, etc. They have the pace to get to the front, so they will be moving up the grid probably if they can make it happen. So that will be also something to look out for, as Rich Miles, for example, is right in the middle of this battle pack to get into the top 20 of this race.
It's a long, long climb though, and especially
very
with 21 minutes. I mean, to be fair, his aim now surely should just be try and get towards the top 10. Your chance of a podium is probably gone unless the supernatural happens. And already putting in some good work here as he takes P21 off the hands of Herbstreit.
Here we are on board with Pellegrini, once again looking at the Castrol livery of Scolari in front, and Caserta and Miraglia are right there up the road. A bit of a bigger gap between Pellegrini and Scolari there, but we'll be very surprised, very keen to see if they can move up the order and battle it out for the lead once again. And what I love about these GT3 Cup cars is that oh so long braking distance. It just keeps going.
And it's so terrifying for that hairpin, isn't it? Because you're braking and you're seeing a car literally, you're about to T-bone them, and you're just hoping that the brakes come into full effect at the right moment, so that not only you miss them, but you hit the apex as well.
Yeah, indeed. Here we are. Miraglia leaves the inside open, but gets to the apex. This turn 1 is seems to be easy to defend in, but then again it isn't. So it's very difficult to pick your line and stick to it. Once you've missed your apex, you will lose a couple of tenths. That's not what you want with 3 countrymen of yours breathing down your neck. One of them also in the same livery as you. So Miraglia at the moment holding on, and let me just have a look at the lap times. It's Pellegrini with a 207.4. That's a very quick lap, by the way, in race trim. 207.4. He's the fastest man on track at the moment.
Ooh, is he going for it? Yeah, he is. Oh, well, we saw him perform a very similar move on Scolari, where he just unsettled the back and was able to take him into this next corner coming up now. Maybe just putting in an early sighter with just over 19 minutes still of race 2 left to run. Miraglia.
Okay, we're back.
All right, there we go. We are back. Apologies, folks. There seemed to be a slight cutout there, but we are back in now. You haven't missed much. Do not worry. Except for the fact that Pellegrini has overtaken Luca Scolari in what was a forceful move down the inside of that same corner. He was basically putting together a carbon copy of what he did in race number 1, and Scolari has been left flat-footed down in P4.
Yeah, indeed, Scolari in P4, and he seems to be dropping back just a little bit, but almost bump drafting here, and possibly going 3 wide onto this first back straight. Can Pellegrini put the pressure on Caserta as Daniel Miles is just recovering in time for Rich Miles, yeah, indeed, to get through. So he's moving up. He's into P16 already. He was in P22 when we first joined him. So already 6 positions made up.
He's done solidly, hasn't he? I noticed that Rettenbacher was involved in another incident himself, though. He's down in P26 as all. Daniel Miles,
yeah.
Another spin in as many corners.
Yeah, it's not going the way he wanted here in race 2 for him. But he can keep going, so no harm done there. As all hell is breaking loose as well here in the background for P17. Dirk van Elsberg, Tonyin, Herbstreet and Jerkel. They are nose to tail. And Daniel Miles just behind them, so he does have a battle on his hands still. So no harm done with that slight mistake. And it's always best to make, if you make a mistake, to make it on your own and not take anyone with you. As we just have a look at the front. Miraglia going very defensive here.
You can see why, because Pellegrini's through. He's taken Caserta and Miraglia in the same lap. And Scolari can only watch on in horror as Pellegrini now will probably set his sights at looking to run away from this.
Yeah, that's what he's hoping indeed. Already half a second in front, so Miraglia, Caserta and Scolari, those are the ones that will start to squabble now.
That's deep from Miraglia, and that's an open invitation to Caserta and Scolari as well. Perhaps we're on board with Scolari. We're not going to see where Miraglia is until we turn in here. No, Scolari going to be ahead along with Miraglia.
Yes,
along with Caserta, rather, and Miraglia drops 2 positions. The pace starting to catch up with him.
Yeah, indeed, and Scolari knows it's money time now. He needs to try and get past Caserta as quickly as he can if he wants to win race 2 as well. The moment Pellegrini got past for P1, Scolari found another gear, it seems, already passing Miraglia and now trying to do the same with Caserta. Because, well, it's very nice to put on your resume to have 2 of these races and 1 starting from P10, of course.
Then the disadvantage for Scolari here, of course, is that in race number 1, he didn't have to use his tyres as much. He was defending for a lot of that race, but he didn't necessarily look uncomfortable, and he only really had to use his tyres to get back past Pellegrini. Here he has been working from the get-go, and okay, he's had a bit of fortune in his favour. That massive incident in the early lap just allowing him to gobble up 4-5 positions, which he therefore didn't need to use his tyres on. Now he is needing to use his tyres just to hope that he remains within touching distance of Pellegrini, who continues to extend his lead to about 7/10 over Caserta.
Yeah, indeed, and well, the gap's a little bit bigger now in this race too, but still, going down that gearbox, Lucas Scolari still within 1 second of the lead, so nothing is lost. 15 minutes to go, plenty of time to try and get close, but he first needs to try and get past Caserta, and that will be the most difficult task, I think, and he will potentially lose some time there if he can get close to him, of course, because Caserta, we have seen in race 1, he is no slouch, so it's not like he's going to roll over and leave Scolari the P2 he's holding right now.
Rest of the top 10 as we watch this scrap concerning Croce in P5, still doing well out there. House in P6, Balashin, Jonke, Sestina up to P9, and Ecot recently up to P10 after we just watched Rosario Catalano.
Yeah, he
fall
just
off
went
the
off.
track.
Yeah.
Yep, and Scolari's past Caserta, I believe, up into P2.
Yeah, down in the braking zone for that back straight, that first back straight. Scolari now up into P2. Now, can he get close to Pellegrini once again? Will we see a repeat of race 1, where he regained that first position after losing it for, well, a couple of corners. About one lap, he didn't have that first position. As Jeff Ecott, as you were saying, now ever so close to Sestina and Fabian Mayer behind or almost in front.
Fabian Mayer can sniff P10.
Yeah.
But he doesn't want to launch anything down the inside, which would then cause an incident. Certainly, he does have a bit of a gap back to Stefanis, who's gotten up to P12 at the moment, which is actually a pretty fair effort, to be honest, given that he started near the back. But Jeff Ecott now the top of the Brits, and might be eyeing up an opportunity for P9 down the back straight. A Scolari, hello Scolari. He absolutely
Caserta, yep.
just he messed up that braking zone so bad, and he's just undone all of the hard work that he put in over the last lap.
Yeah, indeed, Caserta going back past, but well, at those speeds, just misjudging your braking marker by 5 meters can put you well wide of the apex and open to a move by Marcello Caserta. But that means the gap to the lead is now already almost 2 seconds, so it's growing. Pellegrini has the advantage at the moment.
Just over 11.5 minutes left, under half this race. A reminder that after this, of course, we are straight in to our main event, the FR X-17 qualifying and race. That's over an hour left of action left on this broadcast, so be sure to get your snacks at the ready once again. As Scolari looks to ready an assault on both of his countrymen, Caserta and Pellegrini.
Yeah,
Still
gap
plenty of time to work
coming
with.
down. The gap coming down to the lead, so Pellegrini not running away with it. Maybe just saving his tires. He could not do that in race 1, so he might have been a bit smarter now and just taking it easy, keeping his tires for when it's really needed. He's in P1 now, so he has full control. And I just wanted to mention Crotchet and House. They were battling it out for the top 10 positions in race 1, but now very much holding their own in P5 and P6, so they're right there in the top 10 and battling it out as well in the background, as we can see. So all of these guys very well matched, and well, this was a leaderboard challenge, so you would expect some hot lappers here, but the racing has been phenomenal here. Very exemplary driving by everyone, so that's always very nice to see. As Mark Balashin now trying to get past Robert House, but House having none of it into the braking zone for turn 14, as they make their way across the line for the start of lap 8 of this race. Scolari very, very close indeed again to Caserta, and the gap now again 1 second to Pellegrini, so
He does have an entire car to get through.
yeah, he does, and that's not the easiest. Well, he was past, but then threw it all away, so
Yeah. 9 minutes. So that's what? 4 laps, I guess, maximum.
yeah, about 4. Yeah, indeed.
So let's see whether he can muster anything. There is a sizable gap back from Mark Balashin to the Frenchman Jonke in P8. It's very much 2 battles of at least 3 now starting to materialize themselves in the closing stages of the GT3 Cup races. And
Yeah,
there
indeed.
is Frederick. He's kind of on his own as well. A 2-second gap ahead of Sistina and E. Cotton Meyer in that battle for P10.
Yeah, that battle not stopping anytime soon. Oh, as Meyer goes just a little bit too tight there on the apex.
That was even wider.
That was very wide by, I think it was Catalano.
That was Catalano, yeah. So these three still battling away. Here's Robert House in P7.
Yeah. There's Balashin on the right.
There he is, yeah. Going for the defensive line. Probably the smarter option of the two, I imagine. Requires a tighter apex, though. You can see just how much time Robert House gains, but there is only one passing lane through that corner, and the slower car just took it all up. And so that is why Balashin remains ahead at this moment in time. But House is surely going to be getting a little bit antsy now. He knows that there is a bit more pace in this car than is currently on show. And Balashin dropping time like a rock to Croce ahead.
Very well defended into turn 1. Just keep that inside line. There's not a lot the guy behind can do about that, but you need to be able to do it. House, well, as we have a top 5 consisting of Italians, so Balashin, the Hungarian, just starting the other nationalities: Hungarian, German, French, Croatian, British, and then another German. And then we see the next Italian, De Stefanis, in P12 now. So the white, red, and green Porsches are very well represented indeed.
3 retirements so far as well, and they're making it 2 out of 2 for today. Guerrera and Passmore, the other two, who unfortunately could not make it to the end. Just over 6 minutes now for Luca Pellegrini to try and hold on. He is starting to extend the gap ever so much more on Caserta, and he's going to have to thank Scolari for this one, because Scolari is putting on the pressure.
Yep.
The longer that Scolari cannot get past Miguel means the shorter amount of time that he'll have to try and get past Pellegrini. If he can get past Caserta in the first place, we have to give Caserta fair dues here. His defensive drive has been pretty good so far.
Yeah, very good. Very well behaved under pressure there indeed, and he's almost as close to Pellegrini as Scolari is to him. So what's to say for Caserta not getting P1? Seems like he's starting to speed up even, so we'll have to see. Last lap, well, 3 invalid laps. No, we're about to cross the line, and 2:08.0 for our race leader, 2:07.7 for Scolari, and Caserta had an invalid lap. So Caserta seems to be pushing it really, really hard, as Pellegrini went a little bit wide there in turn 1. And Croce just passed Miraglia now for P4.
Miraglia's pace keeps on dropping, and you can see how much it has dropped. That comfortable gap to Croce, Balashin and House. Well, it's not just gone now. Croce is past, and Balashin and House are looking to get involved on the bullying party as well. Miraglia's P5 as much under threat now as it has ever been.
Yes, indeed. Outside of the podium spots, this 4-way battle for P4. Croce, Miraglia, Balashin and House. But at the moment, Croce can hold on to that P4 in the Absolute Motorsport Porsche GT3 Cup car. The gap to the lead for Scolari, under 1 second once again, 8 tenths.
Caserta is very much keeping close.
Yeah.
Scolari just flying all over the place, though. I do think he's used up a lot more of his tyres in this race, understandably so, than race number 1. Whereas Pellegrini, it's very much been the opposite, hasn't it? Because he got all of his work done very early on in this race again. Held by fortune, held by incidents ahead of him, but he made the moves stick. He took 2 positions, second and first, in the space of 1 lap. And since then, he hasn't necessarily needed to push as hard because, well, A, Caserta's not been pushing the issue as much. He's not been trying to go to P1, or maybe even worse for him, he hasn't had the opportunity or the pace to go for P1. And so Pellegrini, although he goes wide here, really hasn't needed to have stretched his legs as much as necessary. He's been able to keep these tyres under temperature, keep these tyres as happy as can be, and now for the last 3 minutes, he's got a little bit more ammunition to use in that defence.
Yeah, indeed. I think he has the advantage at the moment. 3 minutes to go, so that's 2 laps, counting the one we are on right now. And Jeff Ecott, he's defending from Sestina, Meyer and Catalano, who are right behind Catalano, moving to the inside line. But Meyer closes the door. Catalano has to try and find a way past here in the next 2 laps. Oh, Meyer goes a bit wide, bit of door handle to door handle action, but Meyer able to defend right now. What will this bring into the next braking zone? Catalano looking very feisty indeed, but gets his braking done. No, he doesn't get it done.
Ooh.
Gets turned by Rich Miles, I think, almost. Nope. They keep going. Miles flashing his lights, so there was a bit of squeezing there, but they all keep going.
I don't think so. I think Rich should be applauded for getting up this high. That was a dive bomb and a half on Catalano, okay. And Catalano had absolutely every right to turn into that apex, thinking, there isn't going to be a car appearing on the inside of my door handle, and so. Rich can be as annoyed as he wants. I feel for him. He's been put in this position. That wasn't his fault. But Catalano had every right to turn in, certainly. And just a little bit too haphazard from Miles on that one occasion. That said, there is basically 1 lap left for all of these guys. So I guess, why wouldn't you be going for these moves in order to get as high up the order as you can?
Yeah, indeed. Scolari now as close as he has been to Caserta. Will he move to the inside? I think Caserta needs to be blocking that line, but he isn't. Nope, but he can just get the braking done correctly and now keep his car on the inside line here.
Very neat. That's really neat from Caserta. And again, Pellegrini, he sees what's happening behind him. He knows that he doesn't have to push too hard.
No, indeed, he just needs to try and just finish this lap. Look ahead. He has nothing to fear. Oh, Scolari late on the brakes. Luckily, these cars are quite strong. Caserta keeps P2. Yeah, he rejoins in front. But just a late move there by Scolari. And luckily, no real harm done to Caserta. That wouldn't have been a fair move.
And then some. That's an understatement, certainly. The only way that could have gone even worse is if Caserta had been spun. Thankfully, because of the nature of the dive bomb, it was more a side-by-side rubbing rather than a T-boning. Of course, that's all music to Pellegrini's ears. Means that he's been kept out of harm's way. Means that he's been kept at arm's length from the scrap going on behind him. And with just the straight and 2 more corners to go, this is looking better and better by the second for Luca Pellegrini. Here we go then. Scolari back straight. Caserta has been within touching distance. Scolari has passed Caserta. But a mistake saw him fall behind again. He's going to go to the inside, and Scolari knows when the battle has been lost. Caserta with a very late braking manoeuvre to potentially try and unsettle Pellegrini. But Luca was having none of it. He was the bridesmaid in race number 1. Bridesmaid no more. You can take that veil off because you are the beautiful winner of race number 2. Luca Pellegrini from Miguel Caserta. And, of course, Luca Scolari there rounding out the top 3. It's an Italian 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 with Croce and Miraglia 4th and 5th. Balash in-house, Jonke, Ecott and Sestina round out your top 10.
Yes, indeed. Ecott now rounding off that last turn, but everybody, as we can see, very happy to finish their race in that position. and a very nice 2 races indeed by these drivers. Sestina finishing in the top 10 here for race 2. Rich Miles in the end in P13, so very good recovery drive from him. Jan Courtois as well was quite far back at some point. As you can see, his car is quite bent as well. His rear wing is not straight anymore, but finishing in P14. So, well, big congratulations to all of these drivers. A good spectacle, and I think the track is very much rubbered in for our next event as well. So, yeah, thanks for joining us, to all these 32 GT3 Cup drivers here at the Shanghai Grand Prix circuit, and a great spectacle to watch. And we hope you stay with us for our next race, which is also at this circuit with the FR X-17 cars.
Yeah, it's going to be a fascinating affair. 15-minute qualifying session, 70-minute race. You do not want to miss. I think myself and Miguel, we're going to take a little break here now just to catch our breaths after 2 very exciting races. But yes, do not go away just yet, because we'll be back very soon, in the next 5 to 10 minutes or so, I'd imagine, with the single-seater action. Don't go anywhere.
Yeah, indeed. We're just going to be changing the server, and then we will be right back with you. So see you soon.
Hello, 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 folks, and welcome back to the RaceRoom Grand Prix on this Sunday evening, live at our virtual version, of course, of the Shanghai International Circuit. We've just witnessed two wonderful GT3 Cup races, and now it is time to get into the main event, the FR X-17 Grand Prix, with a qualifying session of 15 minutes in length, followed up by a 70-minute race, which I think everyone has been looking forward to. We've got another great 30 drivers coming up, ready to battle it out for the spoils. I'm James Kirk, joined by Miguelito. And Miguel, as I said, we got two great races done, dusted, out the way. But now it's time for some of the fastest machinery that you can find on RaceRoom.
Yes, indeed. Mimicking Formula One cars, this is something completely different than the GT3 Cup cars that we were seeing just 10 minutes ago. As you can hear as well, the sounds will be completely different as well. So new drivers. The only thing that stays the same is the track. We also have DRS. We have different tire compounds, 70-minute race, pit stops, etc, etc. So this is our main event for this evening, and we have 7 minutes of practice still on the clock, and currently it's Ulrich who is on top. But I think let's have a look at the driver list for this event, shall we?
There's a bunch of names on here, and what was fascinating to me is that we don't have a single name from that first section of our broadcast for the GT3 guys, who are also taking part in this Grand Prix. Completely different selection of drivers. Some of you might recognize the likes of Balint Benedek, for example, EWTCR veteran, the likes of Michel Kasperink we've seen in some single-seater community leagues from time to time. Attila Dine, another of the EWTCR roster as well. And we have some really good variety in terms of countries as well, including the likes of Hall and Gonsalves. You might notice on our timing tower on the left there from, I believe it's Trinidad and Tobago, that flag. I'm going to double check. Actually, no, Trinidad and Tobago's red, isn't it? I'm going to double check where that flag is from, because either way, there are a lot of people from different parts of the world. We've got Brazilians, we've got Swedes, we've got Hungarians and Germans and Brits there. It's a wonderfully multinational field, which I always enjoy seeing those more than just your European-based bunches, Miguel.
Yes, indeed. We have Americans, indeed. Also, I think it's Korea, South Korea, might be Tin Shin Soo in 28th position. He is at the moment. Didn't set a lap time yet, and he is lost in the timing screens at the moment. We have 28 drivers on the grid, or on Barbados. The server. Oh yeah,
the blue and yellow flag is Barbados. So we've got two Barbadians. I don't think I've ever had to call. I'm going to do some more research on this. What do we call a person from Barbados, apart from a person?
I have no idea. I had never seen that flag, but it's cool to see two guys from Barbados. I shall call them here on the main server here at the Shanghai circuit. As you said, Balint Benedek, known for the EWTCR and currently topping the timing sheets. The Hungarian with a 131.2. So as you see, the top lap time in the GT3s was a 207, low 207. Now we're looking at 131s, so that's a completely different ball game.
Right, let's focus in on the drivers then. And my research tells me that they are either Barbadians, which does make a lot more sense than what I was talking about, or Bargians, apparently. But I think we'll go with Barbadians just to make doubly sure. I'm not sure about Sin, actually. As you say, his actual time, his little graphic on our timing tower is just below what is being registered right now. But currently, it is that man with all the experience, Benedek, up on top, with Haggard and Ulrich rounding out the top three. And again, a similar situation to the GT3 Cup, actually, where the man who is on, well, not provisional pole position, but the man who's leading the times in free practice, at least, is leading by a good, healthy amount as well, 3/10, as Alessandro Ottaviani is up there in P5, but still, the top 3 are within 7/10 of each other. And once you get to Olivetto, the Belgian, in P4, that's over a second away. So you're looking at the likes of Benedict, Haggard, and Ulrich, and they really are setting an ominous sign here for the rest of the field going forward.
Yeah, very much on the pace, these 3, but of course everybody still warming up, and well, with such a shortish lap now, 1:31 in lap time, a 1 second gap is very, very big. But I think we will see a lot more spread in lap times with these cars. These are a lot more difficult to tame and a lot easier to make mistakes in these. So this will be a completely different qualifying session and a completely different race, and it will be longer, that's for sure. 70 minutes will really be a challenge for all the drivers to keep their head and hands and feet matched going at these ridiculous speeds in these Formula 1 cars.
Ah, man, of course, the ever knowledgeable Robert Wiesemol, who is behind the scenes doing his wonderful moderating duties, reliably informs me that, and reminds me actually, that Tin Shin-Su is from Taiwan, and actually he's a guy who has taken part not in a major online event, but he has taken part in a major RaceRoom event. So a while back when we were doing the Mercedes e-racing competition, we actually went out to Stuttgart to the Mercedes Museum, where there was an in-person event where you could qualify for the live final, and Su took part in that event. So he does have some experience up at the top end of things, and I'm excited to see what he can do here in much, admittedly, much faster machinery than the DTM machinery which we saw back then. And also for you guys at home who are super interested on the ins and outs of, well, you know, what are the settings for the server and such, because you can modify things to, you know, a certain extent. We're running ×2 fuel. Tires are run as normal with, as I think you alluded to, Miguel, 3 different tire compounds. Yellow is soft, white is medium, and orange is hard. A full tire change will take roughly around 3 seconds. That's a give and go. 150 litre tanks. The times fuel multiplier will force at least 1 pit stop. DRS is available from lap 2, not from lap 3, as you might see in Formula 1, so it will be available much earlier to the drivers. And you have to be within a second of the car in front of you to activate it. When activated, it can be used 3 times per lap. So again, different to Formula 1 in that there isn't any set DRS zone. It's a little bit more like push to pass in a certain sense. You can use it at any point in the track, but obviously, Miguel, there are very clear and obvious places to use it in, such as this back straight, for example.
Yeah, indeed, the back straight will be the hotspot once again for lapping and for passing. But as I said during the first few races in the GT3 Cup cars, overshooting your braking marker by 5 meters will put you away from that apex. And in these cars, that's even worse because you're going so much quicker. It's so much easier to overshoot your braking marker. So you need to be on point for the next 70 minutes, and also during the qualifying session, of course, where everybody will be pushing the cars to the max. That will be a sight to see, I'm sure. Times will get closer as we now have our top 5 within 1 second. So everybody finishing that practice session and going into the qualifying session with some good practice done as everybody streams out of the pit lane.
It will most likely be soft tyres across the board, I would imagine. And we were talking about that necessity to have at least 1 stop because of the fuel. We are also probably going to be seeing another stop on top of that, purely just down to the tyre compound. So unless you're going to be using a harder tyre compound to try and go for that 1 stop, more than likely the fastest way to the finish line is going to be a 2 stop. So 15 minutes on the clock. A reminder, if you're just joining us, if this is your first RaceRoom racing experience qualifying session, once that timer hits 0, that is it. There's no finishing the lap, and so you've got to time it to the timer, not time your last lap to tick over when the timer hits 0. Hopefully that made a lot of sense to you. That Gary and Balint Benedek is going to be hoping. They're much like Luca Scolari in the GT3 qualifying session about an hour ago. He'll be able to follow up the top time in free practice with a top time in qualifying. Certainly starting on pole position will be a very beneficial thing. Less beneficial, I would argue, than in the GT3 Cup. Obviously with DRS on hand to help and with strategies to potentially undercut folks. But if you are just joining us for the first time, of course, then let us take you around Shanghai International Circuit once again on board with Balint Benedek. It's a much faster rotation. Miguel, it's over to you, my friend.
Yes, indeed. So a good exit out of the last turn is paramount to a good qualifying lap. So off we go below the bridge and then braking well into the turning point already. So the GT3s were braking at the 50-meter board. We're well past that with Balint Benedek. A nice smooth run through turns 1 and 2 and then on the power as early as you can onto this back straight. Then hard braking where the curb starts, and again this left right sweepers, are they flat? It seems like they are for Balint Benedek here, at least a left-hander of course. Then hard braking, oh, missed the apex there by quite some margin. And again, so well, Balint Benedek already aborting that lap. He knows he can go quicker and he will not waste any time to try and go again. Here's riding with Carlo Vignaroli. Coming to the end of that first lap here indeed. Hard braking for the final hairpin. As he has another car in front of him and the times will start coming in. And across the line, Attila Diener goes into first position at the moment, a 132.9. But we saw some very much faster times in practice. Ottaviani, the Italian, now at 32.2, going into first position. Thorsten Ulrich, he's faster overall. He has purple sectors and side by side here. Across the line, it goes into second, so it's a real dash to turn 1.
Oh, what an overtake!
Indeed, but can he keep it there?
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, indeed, that will not be the best first sector for that qualifying lap, I think, but he wanted to get through there, Ulrich.
Time is of the essence. Of course, they are faster laps, but still only 15 minutes to get your job done and dusted. Benedek, he's already missed a chance to set a time, and so now he's got to go all over again as Duran, the Spaniard, moves up into P1, just shy of half a tenth ahead of Ottaviani. Speaking of, though, he has responded well with a purple first sector, just coming across the second sector time now. That is another purple sector. Can he follow it up with a third?
Yeah, very small margins though, so top 6 now covered by 1 second, as Ottaviani is going purple at the moment. Also, Lucas Crambert, he is also setting a purple lap time, so let's first see where Ottaviani ends up, shall we? Oh, he aborts that lap. Or did he set a lap time there? Not sure.
No, he aborted it.
Yeah.
So I presume he must have had an invalidation somewhere.
Probably lost corner indeed. Thorsten Ulrich then, so everybody now getting into the groove, setting those faster lap times. Ulrich in P4 goes into P1, 31.8 for him.
That's a 3/10 gap. Still yet to see Thomas Haggard, of course, who was P2 in the practice session. Our Barbadian friend David Hall rounding out the top 5, Montoya slotting into P4. And still yet to see Balint Benedek place a time on the board.
Yeah, indeed. He is on the track at the moment, but not on a lap yet. If I'm not mistaken, he will start it right now. So maybe let's go on board once again.
Just set a lap there. 2/10 off though. That's him done. Of course, with some series, you'll see them have to do a full rotation of the circuit to get back to the pit lane, and then you have to go out again. Not in RaceRoom. You can escape out on track and start from scratch once more.
Indeed.
Jürgen Hilberger here, P22, 2 green sectors. Does he improve from here? Yes, he does, up into the top 20 to P19. 1.879 off provisional pole position, which is still held by Torsten Ulrich in P1.
Yep. Quite a bit of guys going quicker on their own time. Ismael Montoya, for example, P5 currently, so can he move up the order? He's only 5/10 down on Ulrich. So ooh. Yeah, that's the risk of going all out in that last corner. It's not easy to get that one right. You think you've done it, but you haven't.
And there's our first appearance of Haggard on the timing sheets, but only P11. It's going to be very disappointing for him. Still got a good second to find before he can get competitive. And speaking of times, we're just approaching half time in this qualifying session. 7.5 minutes left. Sorry, Ted Haggard, my apologies. We'll be looking to, as I say, find another second or so before he can be happy, I imagine, with his qualifying.
Yeah, indeed. So a couple of more known names here in this race, and they, of course, want to prove themselves, as Haggard keeps it very tidy and on the black stuff as he starts another lap in this qualifying session. Torsten Ulrich, though, purple first sector, 3/10 up even, so he's very much setting the pace. The only one going quicker at the moment.
Very impressed that we have an American joining us as well in the form of Nick Short down there in P18.
Yes, indeed, indeed.
So American, Barbadian, Brazilian, they're from all over the place. But right now, as so often has been the case in history, the fastest person on track is a German. And Torsten Ulrich is looking to really lay down the hammer on any sort of challenger that comes his way. Purple sector 1, purple sector 2. He was relatively unchallenged, and that's a purple sector 3. 3/10 clear of the rest of the field now. Torsten Ulrich.
Yeah, he's the man to beat. Can Benedek get close to him, or Duran, Ottaviani? They're all there or thereabouts, so they need to try and get to the front, to that 2 front grid slots. That's where you want to be for the start of this race. Ted Haggard then, we were following him around earlier through the last turn. P14 currently, and he might be improving here up into P4 even.
That's much better, yeah.
Indeed.
They weren't spectacular sectors, but they were good enough to get him inside the top 5. Until Adina up to P6. So Montoya down to P7 after we saw him with that massive off at the final corner. Hall, Cranberry and Walters round out the top 10 as Benedek moves up into P2, but still 2/10 away from Ulrich's provisional pole time.
Yeah, he was not showing up on my timing screens just because he was just setting green sector times, not going quicker in any sector than Torsten Ulrich. So he needs to find something, Benedek, and he has 5 minutes to do so. So that's about 1 outlap and 2 quick laps, I would say. Also some Brazilians. Luis Felipe Botelho. He's joining us from Brazil, so a very quite a lot of non-European drivers. Very nice to see indeed. Also, we had an Asian RaceRoom GP this morning that was also streamed here. So if you haven't checked that out, you can do that, but do that after this one here, because this is going to be a cracker. Looking at those qualifying times, it will be very, very close indeed. Top 12 covered by 1 second, so that's a lot closer than in the qualifying session. Everybody upping their game now.
And it is great to see from as far east as Taiwan to as far west as the US and Brazil. Such an international field, it is honestly a shock to me that their pings are as strong as they are, especially in the current world climate when internet is strained enough as it is. Alessandro Ottaviani then up into P5, just shy of 5/10 away from pole position. And I tell you what, I was slightly scared looking at free practice, Miguel, that we were going to have like a few top tier runners and then everyone else behind, but qualifying a much closer affair. You go down to P15 and they're still within 1.1 seconds of pole.
Yeah, everybody, as I said, upping their game, setting some good times, and everybody now, everybody, some guys starting their new faster laps. Let's see, Lucas Cranberg is in P10 at the moment. Can he improve? A green first sector is always good to start with. Can he get close to his countrymen? That's the question. Ulrich, maybe, but Fiedler and Diener, can he get close to them? He has Damien Hall, our Barbadian, or top running Barbadian, in front of him. So 8/10 he is behind Torsten Ulrich. Hard braking into the hairpin. Let's see how he manages to take that last turn. Very tidy.
Didn't it?
Yeah, bit too much curb there on the outside, I think. But he stays in P10. Ottaviani across the line. Also,
they're struggling. They're struggling to find more time.
Yeah. That lap time by Ulrich, very competitive indeed.
This is a write-off of Damien Hall as well, 1.1 seconds off before he's even hit the halfway mark.
Yeah, and Ulrich Benedek not on the track anymore, so it's Gerardo Duran. He's in the first sector right now. Maybe he can get benefit from a bit of slipstreaming from the car in front to try and maybe take that front row spot away from Benedek or Ulrich. Oh no, that's a bit wide. You won't get into pole position by doing that.
The temptation to make Duran jokes is strong with me today, but I'm going to refrain. Just for the sake of that is his actual last name, and goodness do I know how many Star Trek jokes I get on a weekly basis, so I feel for you, Gerardo, and it's great to see such good pace. Certainly a shame that this last lap didn't turn out, but still P3, not the worst place to start. Lucas Cranberg, that's 2 green sectors, that's 2 personal bests in simple speak. Now can he find a final personal best sector to put himself above David Hall? In fact, he does more than that. He puts himself above Montoya and Diener to boot. That's P7.
Yep, very well done. And well, the Germans are very well represented in our top 10, just as we had the Italians in the GT3 Cup cars. And well, it's very surprising to see only 4 Italians on the whole server at the moment. So it looks like their favor went to the GT3 Cup cars. As we reach the end of this session, Torsten Ulrich will take pole position here at the Shanghai Grand Prix circuit, and will start from the first row of the grid alongside Balin Benedek. Gerardo Duran and Ted Haggard will be right behind them for the start of this 70-minute race.
Oh, it won't be Ted Haggard on the front row, on the second row, sorry, because Ismail Montoya just slipped in there into P4 with a last-ditch effort before the timer ran out.
Indeed.
And so Haggard is going to be forced alongside Ottaviani on the third row. Qualifying done and dusted then. 70 minutes away to potential 2-stop strategies to come with fuel and multiple DRS usage per lap and so much goodness, Miguel. I'm looking very much forward to this.
Yeah, 40 seconds to go as everybody lines up on the grid. Everybody now getting the tension out of their hands, checking if their equipment is positioned correctly, because you don't get a lot of breathing space between qualifying and the race. So everything needs to be pitch perfect. We have our pole sitter on the right, Torsten Ulrich. We have Benedek on the left in the white and red FR X-17 car. Let's see how they make it through turn 1.
The lights are red. The engine revs rise, and at the Shanghai International Circuit, we are racing for the final time today. 70 minutes up on the clock, and it's Ulrich who's gotten a wonderful launch into turn 1. Absolutely unopposed as Benedek forced to go into second, and already off the circuit, Geraldo Duran, who was starting P3, falling down the order. Lucas Cranberg about just maintaining position in P6, but Montoya's going to be laughing his way home as he's up into P3 with Dina P5 and Fiedler in P6. Everyone just looking to jostle for position. Hopefully we have no troubles going into this right-hander. No, nobody looking. A couple of people going wide, but no contact that I can see. One spinner at the back there. Philip Matzik now up into P10 as well, just behind Hall and Ottaviani. But Ulrich, with the perfect start in many ways, he leads by just about 2 seconds or so.
Yeah, indeed, quite a bit of a gap for Ulrich already. 2 seconds indeed, and they were going 2 wide, 3 wide there through that first sector. So all in all, very well behaved.
Back straight. You can already see some people looking to move to the inside line to escape the slipstream. Remember that DRS, or at least our version of the DRS, is going to be available from next lap to remind you on how it works in this particular race. Yes, you have to be within 1 second of the driver, just like Formula 1, but unlike Formula 1, much more like DTM with the push-to-pass system, you will have 3 uses of the DRS per lap. It's up to you on where you use it. Of course, there are very obvious places to use it, such as the back straight, but it is a free choice. It's a democracy completely ruled by the driver, as Ulrich continues to extend his lead. Benedict, Montoya, Fiedler, Dina, Cranberg, Hall, Haggard, Ottaviani, and Kasperinck, your top 10.
Yes, indeed, that battle in the top 10 really heating up as Gonçalves speeds in the pit lane, so he already made a trip through pit lane and is disqualified from this race.
Wow.
Yeah, so not what he wanted to see. One of our Barbadians is already out of this race.
And that is a shame. Such a rookie error as well, speeding in the pit lane. Yes, it's not real life. Obviously, there's no halos on these cars, but still got to respect the rules. They are there for a reason. And Kasperinck has made his way up to P9 already, past Ottaviani, who is not showing as good pace as we were hoping to see from him from qualifying. Good news for Duran after that horror of a lap 1, though. He is right on the cusp of the top 10. He is a couple seconds behind, as I think someone went spinning off into the grass there off the exit of turn 13. Kasperinck taking P8 from Ted Haggard, so Kasperinck really showing some racing chops in these early stages. And there we go. It looks like Duran, although he is in P11, is under a lot of pressure from Herbie on the Belgian in P12.
Yeah, as Diener just went past on Fiedler for P4, his countryman, and Damien Hall almost following through. Here they are going through turns 1 and 2. But almost no incidents here in those first 3 laps.
Very much self-contained, wasn't it? As already moving over to the inside is a back marker, I imagine. Oh, it looks like it's Gonçalves, actually. I don't know how he's been able to rejoin.
Gonçalves is in the pits here, so
it must be Veneri then? Or Venieri? Either way.
Ted Haggard, he dropped back. He's P10
Again?
now, but he's on the hard compound. Looking at tire strategy, let's see if we can put that up.
Of course, it's a little harder for us as commentators to spot the tyre compounds, as Kasperinck has gotten turn 11 horribly wrong. And he is... Wait, was that Haggard? Well, no, that wasn't Kasperinck. My apologies. It was an orange car, but it wasn't the one I was looking for. So we're going to have to try and spot these tyre compounds with our eyes, which, given certainly on my set, aren't exactly the most reliable source. That's why I wear glasses. But yes, if they are running harder compound tyres, so remember, yellow is soft, white is medium, and orange is hard. If they're running one of those harder compound tyres, they might be going for a 1 stop. going from white to orange, of course, whereas the other guys who are starting on yellow, they're probably going to be going for a two-stop themselves.
Yeah, indeed. So I can see the tire compounds here. We have Ulrich and Benedek on the softs. Then we have Montoya on the mediums. Then we have 5 cars on the softs as well. Ottaviani then is on the mediums. And Haggard and Herbie on... Oh, yeah.
That's David Hall, unfortunately. And there was a little contact with Kaspering. Kaspering was looking to get past him. And unfortunately, one Barbadian has been disqualified. And the other has found his nose smashed in. I'm not entirely sure he was entirely to blame on that one either.
Yeah, not sure indeed, but he will need to come into the pits. He was on the soft compound, so maybe he can still make something of this race if he just puts the hard compound on, but he will need to come in once again for fuel for sure. Well, how Tinchin Su did not get off track there, I'm not so sure, but he was very, very lucky indeed. Let's have a look here at the front as Ulrich has extended his lead over Benedek to about 3 to 4 seconds, I'm thinking.
Those look like white compounds, Miguel.
They should be yellow. Let's see. No, they're yellow.
They are yellow. It's just my view of things slightly distorted. There is obviously very little to tell between the yellow and white on these compounds, so I'll take your word for it. Kaspering then, well...
Going wide.
Going very wide. I don't think that was Kaspering though, was it? That was Fiedler.
Fiedler, yep.
It was a move down to P6 and all that, so Kranberg benefits and Ottaviani almost does as well down there in P8.
Yes, indeed. So to come back to my tire compound roundup, Haggard and Herbion, so P9 and P10, they are on the hards, as well as Gerardo Duran. Those are the 3 top drivers on hards. The rest is on softs, and Montoya, Ottaviani, and Marugan, they are on the mediums. So we'll have to see how that plays out, as DRS has been enabled for Jens Fiedler.
Of course, the easiest way, rather than a squinting, you can see on the info down there at the bottom. There's a big old S. Guess what that stands for?
Yep.
And that's obviously good news for Fiedler, who's going to want to use DRS, but with so many drivers close together at this point in the race as well, DRS kind of being negated in a lot of circumstances. Not so behind Fiedler, though, as Ottaviani and Haggard go into battle. And I think that Ottaviani is going to keep a hold of that one just for now. Yes, with so many people close together, the DRS not having so much of an effect as people are not able to close in as much as they would want. They're forced onto the defense as well.
No, indeed, that's very, very true. As we have a German, Italian, Spanish top 3 or podium, let's say. So a very European top runners at the moment, as we have seen Damien Hall. He is in the pits repairing his front wing. So let's hope he can get back out and have some good racing still to come. He has over an hour of racing still on the clock, so plenty of time to get some good action for him as well. Thomas Olivetto just got past Gerardo Duran. So Duran on the hard compound, losing a bit of time to the guys in front, but he's playing the long game, and this is quite a long race. So that's the thing that you have to do here.
I'm trying to pay attention to the timing tower, but the timing tower,
yeah, it's
a little all over the place. It's hard to read where these people are, unfortunately, on track. But what we can tell you is that the front 3 are miles away from everyone else, really. Ulrich, Benedek, and Montoya, understandably so. All 3 of them running the soft compound tire. This advantage should be something which we are expecting. Although that said, they're also going to have to come into the pits a lot earlier. They might be forced into an extra stop. And with those extra stops being 20 to 25 seconds, perhaps, then you can see why the one-stop strategy is something that people would certainly look to try and enact. You'd rather get that one stop done and out the way with fuel, with tyres done, rather than having to manage two different elements across two different pit stops.
Yes, indeed, and the pit stops will be a big factor here. You need to get them absolutely perfect to not lose time, because you're fighting on track here for every single tenth of a second, and then you can throw that all away in the pit stop cycle. So that's something I hope that all the drivers have practiced, because that's where this race will, well, maybe not won or lost, but positions will be gained and lost in those pit stop cycles, and for sure if you have to do two.
I'm just saying, are we going to be looking at Montoya here as a potential dark horse? Because I mean, he is really, he's keeping tabs on these top two, isn't he, with the medium compound tyre. So in theory, a one-stopper himself.
Could well be possible indeed. We'll have to see if the medium compound is fit for a one-stopper. The hard compound is for sure, but the medium will be a touch and go, I think. So the Spaniard trying to extend that first stint as much as he can, and then pitting as late as possible. Also with this race length, we will be seeing some lapped cars coming into effect, so that might also affect the positioning inside the top 10 here, as we have David Walters in 12th, if I'm not mistaken. He was leading the leaderboard challenge, so he is one to watch as well. He's on the soft compound, just got past Maraghan, so...
Has he though? It's always deceiving, isn't it? You see that overspeed, and then getting a little too hot over the curbing. Walter's going to stay in P12. And a little lock up there as well, of course. You can be a little bit more aggressive on the brakes in the GT3 Cup cars, but lock up on these tyres, Miguel, and you're going to be in for a world of hurt for the rest of your stint.
Yes, very much. Flat spotting is not that great on these cars, and especially here on that back straight, you will start to feel that. If it's only a 20-minute race, you might be okay, but yeah, very late braking by Walters, trying to get through at all costs here, as soon as he can.
Goes back to that adage that you were putting forward. To get into this Grand Prix, you have to take part in a leaderboard challenge.
Yep.
And through that challenge, sometimes there are going to be people who are quite happy to hot lap and not so happy to form a race setup, and I fear that Walters might have fallen into that hot lapper category.
Yeah, indeed. Well, he's still running in 12th, and no big issues for him so far. So who knows what can happen, as Torsten Ullrich has very much checked out. He's alone in the shot. Balin Benedek nowhere to be seen at the moment, and already coming up to lap traffic. Here's the back straight. There's Benedek. So quite a big gap there for Ullrich, and they are on the same tires. It's not that Benedek is running the mediums or the hard compound. So Ullrich at the moment the pace setter, and we'll have to see if he can keep that together for the next 56 minutes.
He has looked impervious so far, and big shout out, by the way, to all of the organisers of this event. We've already mentioned Robert Wiesemann. We're also going to give a shout out to Cy Fillingham, who you might have seen plenty of times on the RaceRoom forums already. It gives us some interesting information actually regarding the Asia race, which occurred earlier today. The winning strategy was soft, medium, soft, so that two-stop strategy did work. And given Ulrich's ever-opening advantage now, you got to say that those questions about, Montoya, he's holding on, isn't he? And with the medium tyres, surely he's going to look good, but the gap is now becoming, it's extending at such a rate, put your teeth in, James, where Ulrich is looking like the much stronger bet at this point in the race.
Yeah, indeed. So looking at last lap times, we have a 33.6 for Ulrich, we have a 33.5 for Benedict, so ever so slightly faster. And then Montoya is doing 34 once, so he's 5 to 6 tenths off that pace. Diener and Kasperink are in the same boat, so low 34s for them. So the top two very much setting the pace right now, but we'll have to see if Benedek can keep chipping away those tenths of seconds off of Torsten Ulrich's lead, or if that was just a one-off event. Looking at best lap times, Ulrich has done a 33 flat, whereas fastest lap time for Benedek was a 33.5. So in terms of raw pace, Ulrich has the advantage at the moment.
And he's got plenty of beautiful open air and grey tarmac ahead of him as well. There's not much in the way of back markers to deal with as of yet. I do think they're going to play a bigger part later in the race.
Yeah, they might.
Moving on to into lap 11. We've got just over 50 minutes left, so we're already 20 minutes in, flying by. And Ulrich and Benedek and Montoya, your top three. Remember, Montoya on an alternate strategy, we believe, with the medium tyres. So he could, in theory, switch it up as well. Of course, with a lot of drivers, you'll go into a race evening, Miguel, you'll think, oh, yes, you know, this is the way I'm going to do things. But if you can see the amount of time which he's losing to Benedek and Ulrich, if he is going into this event thinking, yes, I'm going to one stop, medium, hard tyre, that's the way we're going to go. Surely he's within his rights being on that medium tyre. It's the only tyre which is shared across both strategies.
Yep.
So in theory, he could switch it up to the soft at the end. He's actually put himself in a very handy position to choose his own destiny.
Yes, indeed, and he's indeed falling back just a little bit, but that gap is not that big right now that he can't make that time back up with a good strategy or a good pit stop, let's say, because if Ulrich or Benedek mess up the pit stop in some way, Montoya could be right there with them to pick up the pieces, as Ulrich responding with a 32.8 on that last lap, so 6 tenths quicker than Benedek on the last lap.
He's flying.
Yeah,
Absolutely flying. And speaking of flying, well, David Walters, we were talking about those flat spots. They don't seem to have stopped him too much, have they? He's dispatched of Renault behind him, and up next is his compatriot Ted Haggard, who, remember, he's on the hard compound tyre, and so this is 2 compounds difference between the two of them. It's not that all of Ted's pace has all of a sudden evaporated, but he is struggling, and David Walters can smell blood in the water.
Yeah, indeed, especially through these fast turns coming up now. I think we will see quite a bit of a difference between the two tires. Well, seems to be holding his own at the moment, Ted Haggard. But here, Walters closes right up.
Of course, Haggard almost consigned now to this one-stop strategy, given that he is on the hard compound. And you've got to look at, he's going to gain, what, like 20 seconds maybe at best over the rest of the field by skipping that pit stop. Because, of course, remember, it's not just the fact that he's going to be one-stopping. It's also the fact that he's going to be one-stopping and not utilising the soft compound tyre. And there is your difference in a nutshell, assisted by DRS. David Walters up into the top 10.
Yep, up into the top 10 indeed. And looking at those pit stop strategies, a tyre change only takes about 3 seconds here. And then for your fuel, 50 litres of fuel will take you about 6 seconds, so you will not lose heaps of time. You will need to come into the pits anyway, and well, the total pit stop time at about 25 seconds for these cars. So if you skip a pit stop, you gain 25 seconds, but of course that comes at a cost, namely running the hard compound tire and being slower overall, and not being in a position maybe to battle it out on track, and just going for the strategy goals and getting those positions based on others around you going to the pits. So we'll have to see if Haggard and Herbillon, they're in 11th and 12th, which is not bad, if they will move up the grid come the end of the race, or if they will very much stay just on the cusp of that top 10. But a nice pack here with Walters at the back. Botello and Ottaviani are right in front of him.
Just see Botello ahead. And actually, speaking of Botello, here we go. Move inbound. Again, it's another situation where you got one compound versus another, the mediums on Ottaviani, and Botello, really that is a move that he needed to make, and he did so with proficiency up into P8 as
Ulrich is in the pits.
Ulrich is in the pits, yes, so this is our first pit stop, taking the medium tyre. Now that to me, Miguel, says that he's going to be copying the strategy of Mr. Winner from the Asian race.
Yeah, he is indeed.
It's a winning strategy though, so why would you go against it unless you're going to almost spin out of the pits? Ulrich, that is a cold set of tyres, friend. You're going to have to warm them up.
Yeah, very, very cold indeed. Almost putting it into the wall there. Ulrich rejoins in 11th, and he's actually come out in a bit of clean air, so that's not too bad for him. He can warm up his tires on this outlap. Now we'll have to see if Benedek will react right away, or if he stays out for just a bit. We have had 22 minutes of racing done, so yeah, this looks like the time to be pitting if you're running the softer compound tire to extend your middle stint. Indeed, here's Benedek. He keeps going. Yep.
To be fair, I don't blame him one bit.
No.
If his pace is still as stable as it is, and I mean, especially given how fast Ulrich was on the soft compound tyres, you want to make as much as these soft tyres as possible, because you're only going to get slower the harder the compound you go.
Yes, indeed. Last lap for Benedek at 33.5, so that was in line with what he was doing, just 0.05 of a second off of his best lap time, so there's no need for him to come in right now. He's running at his maximum pace, it looks like. So if he can extend this set of tires for just a little bit, then that could be a good strategy for him.
Kasperink in.
And already out.
Mediums. Oh, on the soft, sorry, my apologies. But going soft, medium. And that is not a great place to come out, actually, just behind Louis Marugan. But actually, to be fair, that's a lovely move around the outside using the Supreme Grip. Yes, they are cold tyres, but they are also superior tyres. And, oh, sorry, that was Philip Matzik, Michael. Or was it a back marker even? It must have been a back marker because he didn't lose a position. No, okay.
No,
never mind me. I'm going mad. I mean, I already knew that already, but it's, you know.
Yeah, well, the timing screen not helping us out here right now, but in any case, pit stops starting to come in. Ted Haggard now up into P9 due to that pit stop by Ulrich. He's right behind there, so we'll have to see Ulrich on the mediums, Haggard on the hards. I think Ulrich is on his first real flying lap here on the medium, so let's have a look at what kind of lap time he did. His last lap time was a 2 minutes flat, so he lost about 25 seconds in the pits, as I said, and across the line he goes. Oh, it's an invalid time, unfortunately, so we will not be getting that information. Crambert as well in the pits. He has the softs on at the moment. Walters as well, Olivetto as well, so all the soft compound tires all coming in now. And Benedek, indeed, Benedek staying out, Diener as well, Fiedler as well, Botello.
Now I'm wondering whether Benedek is actually changing up strategy on the fly here along with Montoya, because quite frankly, you've seen. Let me put the situation to you, Miguel. they've seen how fast Torsten Ulrich was in that first stint. That said, it evidently came at a cost. He had to come in a lot earlier than other people, whereas these other guys have been a little bit more flexible on their tyres, maybe not as hard working for whatever reason. Now, seeing how fast Ulrich has been in the race, would you not want to change your strategy to try and beat him? Because if you just follow him down the garden path, you're going to end up at the other side behind him, just as you were at the beginning.
Yeah, indeed. If he can extend that first stint here, maybe he can go for the hard compound tires and take the Haggard or Herbillon here strategy and reverse it. Might be an option, but well, the hard tires will not give you the edge to defend come the end of the race. So, as Herbillon already coming into the pits on the hard tires, he's switching strategies as well, because I think that's quite early on these hard compound tires to be coming in right now.
That's very early. But Teo in.
Yeah.
I noticed Dina in as well. Dina back out on the softs.
Dina indeed.
Going for a two-stop. I imagine Mateo's going to be moving out onto the soft tyres as well. I'm wondering whether Herbillon might be a flat spot issue perhaps, because that is way too early. Speaking of hard tyres though, hello Luis Felipe Mateo coming out on the hard compound tyre. That might be a one-stop.
Yes indeed, and Herbillon staying on the hard, so he must have only taken fuel at the moment. Maybe he will not change tires, also an option. Not sure if that will help him out, because it's only 3 seconds to change your tires. If given the chance, I would take that, but maybe he thinks those 3 seconds will make the difference. In any case, he comes out in P15 at the moment. And let's see once the pit cycle comes through.
Benedek, yeah. I was looking at the top and I'm like, Montoya's taking the lead. There is a very good reason for that. Balint Benedek into the pits.
Into the pits,
what is he going to go into? What is he going to go on to? Is he going to stick with softs? It looks
sticking
like he
with
is.
softs. Yeah.
Well. So Montoya takes the lead. Haggard moves up into P2, and around the first turn comes Torsten Ulrich, who is admittedly closer to Benedek than I was actually expecting in the first place. He has not gained much time with those fresh medium tyres. And now Benedek's on the superior compound as well.
Yeah, he's right there. He's right there with Ulrich. So he did gain quite a bit of time there, Benedek, by as Nick Short gets a drive-through penalty. Our American driver speeding in the pit lane, but not as much as Gonçalves, who got a DQ for that.
Gonçalves is going to be like, let me back in.
yeah.
Why was I punished so much worse?
Indeed, and Haggard now on the hard compound. He's in second position overall. Quite a bit back from Montoya, of course, but still he's staying with it. He's the seems to be the only one keeping that hard compound strategy alive, as Benedek is right there. So that's Benedek there in the background. Oh, very late braking indeed. Too late, actually.
Unaware of his own strength going down the straight there. But this is going to be a huge spanner in the works, as Montoya comes in just a lap after Balint Benedek on those medium tyres. And let's see what Montoya goes with. He looks like he's going to stick with the mediums, but certainly if you're Ulrich,
he's going to softs.
He is going to softs. Okay, I mean, if you're Ulrich, then you're thinking, gosh, you know, Benedek has not only outlasted me on that set of tyres, but he's actually gained time on me because of the tyre compound. And Benedek is surely going to catch up to Ulrich during this stint because of that compound tyre difference. And that's just going to slow Ulrich even more.
Yes, indeed. So a good call on strategy for Benedek. And well, you can think about that strategy on the fly, which is not easy, but then you need to make it happen as well. You need to put in those laps. You need to get those lap times down to put pressure on your rival. And now they're right there, about 2 seconds apart. So when can Benedek get into the DRS zone of Thorsten Ulrich. As let me quickly check Haggard. Yeah, so Haggard, our leader of the race, lap 19. He's right there in front of Ulrich and Benedek. So our top three now all in one shot on the back straight, but Haggard has a pit stop still to do, but he will want to keep going as long as he can and try to not lose any time when letting Ulrich and Benedek pass, because I think that's what he will need to do if he stays out for more than 1 or 2 laps still.
I tell you what, the strategy has probably worked out as well as it could have done. He's leading the race at least, and he knows that he does have an advantage of that pit stop over everybody else.
Yep.
Keep in mind, I mean, I had drifted away from the timer for a little bit to focus on the action, because there has been some good action. The pit stops have been super interesting to look at. We're almost halfway through the race, and Ted Haggard has lasted on these tyres almost halfway through the race. So, considering now that the likes of Ulrich and Benedek and Montoya, they're almost guaranteed to have another pit stop to deal with. If Haggard can put on a super defensive drive now, and I don't think he's going to be able to keep these guys behind just by value of this corner coming up, turn 13. The drive is going to be so much better on the medium tyres, let alone the soft compound tyre. And then you got DRS to deal with as well. He's not going to stay in first, but if he can frustrate them, if he can, for example, feed Ulrich back into Benedek, then all of a sudden, all of these laps that Haggard is getting involved in the battle and keeping them at his level, the more chance he has of getting, at the very least, a podium. This is not over yet for the Brit.
Yeah, very, very true. And indeed, Robert Wiesenmüller pointing out to us, I think we are in the F1 dogma where you need to run both compounds, but Benedek has the option to go soft, soft, soft. That is allowed here, and his first stint did last about 1/3 of the race, so that is still an option. He doesn't have to go onto the mediums or the hards. He can just do a 2-stopper and go soft, soft, soft. And that might be the difference between winning or losing here in this race, as he gets ever so slightly closer to Ulrich. Look at this. He's right on the gearbox.
There's a difference between getting there and making your way past.
Of course.
You've got to open the door. No good having a better compound and not using it. You can see just how much more confident he is on the brakes. Keep in mind, Ulrich also has to see Ted Haggard ahead. And good save from Balint Benedek. That could have gone south very quickly. Excellent car control. And you know what? Look at that! He didn't even need to have a 50% perfect turn 13. Breezes past Thorsten Ulrich as if he was nothing.
Yeah, first time we're seeing that DRS really in effect here, and very effective indeed. So now Ulrich just has to try and stay close, maybe not to pass, but to just keep with Benedek and move over to the soft compound as soon as he feels comfortable with it, to get back on a level playing field with Benedek. To be honest, in those first few laps, I thought Benedek would never get close to Ulrich, but now, as we said, on strategy and raw pace as well, getting into the actual lead of the race, Haggard is still in front, but the virtual lead of the race goes to Balint Benedek.
Now, if you are Haggard, do you just stay out as long as you can before the two of these rampaging maestros of the front get past you, or do you call it now and say, hey, we've reached halfway point in the race, let's pit now?
Well, if DRS helps Benedek and Ulrich past Haggard just now, maybe Haggard can just extend his stint for just a little bit longer.
Well. Look at that.
Yeah, that's No, his DRS is not open. DRS is not
okay.
open, but he could defend somehow.
He just had
Wow.
natural slipstream. Huh.
Yeah, yeah.
Does he come in? Yes,
He
he does.
does,
He
yeah.
is going to call it at exactly the halfway point. Expect Hards to go onto that car once again, as Balint Benedek will take the lead of the Grand Prix.
Yeah, Ted Haggard's fastest lap of 34.4, whereas the top two, a 33.2 for Benedek and a 32.8 for Ulrich. So there is quite some margin between those tires. And where does Haggard come out? In the pits.
Taking
Will
on
he
fuel
stay on
as well, of
hards?
course.
Yeah.
He's
But will
got
he
to
stay on
on
hards? Yeah.
Sure, I mean, he's committed to the strategy. Surely he's got to stay on hards. Unless he feels he can get away with mediums, no, he is going to stay on the hard compound tyre.
Comes
Now
out
he
in
comes
9th.
in P9, okay. That is roughly where he was
Yeah, he was in
before the
11th,
first
I
pit
think.
stop
Yeah.
phase. Yeah. And so keep in mind that all those guys ahead of him, unless they pull out some Checo Perez level of tyre saving, are do another pit stop. He isn't. All he
Nope.
has to do now is focus on getting to the end. So Teg Haddad, very much the cat amongst the pigeons here. He is going to be biding his time, making sure that the pace he sets is good, is consistent, and he's just going to be picking up these places one by one as people come into the pits once again.
Yeah, indeed. And I didn't find him to be very skirmish on the tires at the end of that stint, so he was not really in, well, at the end of the tire life of those hards, so he can be confident to know that he can reach the end of this stint and the end of the race, essentially, with good tires. Not the fastest ones, but good ones. And as you said, P9, who knows where he can end up, as Ulrich can stay close to Benedek. It's about 1 second of a gap. He has DRS even, so within 1 second. But doesn't have the advantage on the back straight that Benedek had. He just breezed past. That was a very big difference in lap in top speed.
Well, I mean, the first 10 minutes you were looking at Ulrich and thinking, he obviously is going to win this race, right? But now, given how early Ulrich pitted as well, oh, and looking at how squirmish he is on the tyres, it is advantage Benedek. The cars look close together, but Benedek is truly in a world of his own, and I would not be surprised if he's able to keep up this pace and not use the tyres, you know, to the degree which clearly Ulrich is. I mean, in theory, he could potentially go soft.
Yeah, I think he needs to try that. We know for sure, I think, that Ulrich will go to the softs. So if he can just keep Ulrich behind and cover him, that should be enough in theory to be close to winning this race. Meanwhile, Montoya, he went from mediums to softs, and he's quite lonely there in third position, but not too far back from these two at the front. Attila Diener crossing the line now, so also quite lonely in P4. And now we have Casper Rink defending from Lucas Kramberg and Jens Fiedler. They are still quite close to each other, all on the soft compound tire. Ted Haggard, as we have someone off there in the background. Ted Haggard, does he have someone in front? No, he has complete clean air. He has Ottaviani, Matsik and Marugan behind, but if he can focus on the clean air, he should be putting in good lap times. Last lap time was a 35.9. That's not ideal, but in any case, he needs to focus on the long run. 30 minutes to go, and the guys in front will still need to pit.
30 minutes left in this 70-minute race. And
Already,
there is
yeah.
still, there's still a lot that can happen as well. There is, this alternate strategy really is going to be something else. I guess what is crucial now is that Balint Benedek starts to stretch a lead on Ulrich. I know that he's trying to protect his tyres as well to go for that I guess, potential triple soft tyre strategy. But he's going to have to hope that Ted Haggard keeps on dropping the pace as well, as Michel Kasparink, I notice, is getting pretty close to Lucas Crambert.
Pretty close
indeed. Oh, and both of them
by
go
miracle.
On the track.
What a miracle they don't collide. Well, they don't spin.
Methinks that's a little bit illegal, though.
Ooh, getting very, very aggressive there, both.
I don't blame Lucas. As I say, if I was Lucas, I'd be like, excuse me, you went off track to claim that position.
Yeah, indeed. Ooh, just losing the rear there.
Of course, we've got Jens Fiedler as well. Very close behind these two. He's going to be rubbing his hands together, hoping that they do get into fisticuffs with each other.
Yeah, indeed. But I think one thing to take note of is Ulrich, on the same compound in the first stint, was miles quicker than Benedek, to be honest. So he has the psychological advantage, I think. Benedek does not just have to keep the lead. He needs to try and extend it as much as he can, because in theory Ulrich will be quicker in the final stint. So he needs a bit of breathing space there to try and defend for the race lead, I think. But of course, going look at this DRS. So I think Ulrich, as Crambert, is already hitting the limiter well before the middle of that long back straight. But I think Ulrich is using up his DRS earlier in the lap for some reason, because he was not closing up that quickly on Benedek when he was within DRS read.
I think that's perhaps the strategy, though.
Yeah.
As well, I mean, I imagine that especially as those mediums start to degrade, because they're naturally a slower tyre anyway. Yes, the degradation is going to be slower, but you imagine the longer that pans out, it's going to be much slower than the softer tyres, where yes, they're going to degrade faster, but that's the whole point. They're going to degrade much faster, so there's not much point in staying on those soft tyres. So in order to keep touch with Benedek, Ulrich needs to use the DRS in that earlier point in the lap to make sure that he stays as close, because where do you need tyres most of all? It's certainly not on the back straight, it's through these sections where you need the grip.
Oh, as
hello.
Crambert. We didn't see Walters. Oh yeah, Fiedler, sorry, it was not Walters. Yeah, Fiedler just goes past there, up the inside. Crambert left the door open and didn't have to be asked twice.
I didn't think the door was necessarily open by conscious thought either. Fiedler just sending it. And to be fair to him, he's got the move done cleanly, so got to give him credit.
Yeah,
although I think
look at the CRS
immediately. Oh no! Oh, he's absolutely he's on the limiter. He can't overtake people.
Well, it looks like he braked even, because I think his DRS closed. He braked for some reason.
Ulrich's in again.
Already.
Earlier than Benedek. Oh dear. Well, mind you, this is going to be curious to see where Ted Haggard comes out in all of this. He's fallen behind, or he's behind David Walters regardless. Out goes Ulrich on the soft compound tyre, and he is ahead of Mr. Haggard by quite some margin as well. I think Haggard's not even on the pit straight.
No.
So
that's 30 seconds, more or less.
That's first and second out the picture. I imagine that's probably a podium out the picture as well for Haggard.
I think so. We need to have a look at Montoya when he comes in.
Is Fiedler in? Oh, but Fiedler's off. I was
in
like,
the gravel.
That's a little bit past the pits, isn't it? Fiedler is off in P8. Rejoins there. I don't think Ottaviani is actually pretty close, but Ulrich offered a free position.
Yes, indeed. That's what he wanted. Does he have some clean air in front? Yes, he does.
Plenty.
No one to be seen.
Now, if you're Ballot Benedek, do you bite? Do you say, okay, I see you?
Yeah.
I'm going to respond, or is he going to do what he did previously? Looks like he is.
Yeah, he's staying
Stick
out.
to his own strategy. Because it worked last time.
Yeah, indeed. Why not? I mean, he was in front. Ulrich needed to try something, but 25 minutes on the soft compound tire is longish. I think the first stint was about that length, but we'll have to see if Benedek can extend this second stint. That will give him the advantage in the long run, of course. And 25 minutes is our GT3 Cup car race length, and plenty of action there, plenty of things going on, and plenty of things that can happen still. As Ulrich goes through turn 1 once again, and Haggard has lost a position. He's down into P10 now. He lost position to Ottaviani, but well, they're not in the same battle, I think. If Haggard can make it to the end of the race, as Kaspering is in the pits and back out, and Walters as well in the pits on the jacks. He was running with the soft tires, and he stays on the soft tire.
Of course, the difference between this pit stop phase and last pit stop phase, is that Ballon Benedek wasn't necessarily running into the gearboxes of cars ahead of him.
Nope.
But on top of that as well, Ulrich was running the mediums as opposed to the soft tyres, which he is now. And so with Ballon Benedek soft tyres surely nearing the end of their life versus Ulrich on a fresh set, I agree with you to a large extent. I worry about Ulrich's chances on the soft tyres going to the end. I think they're going to be very, very worn. But certainly this is where he needs to make the time count, where Benedek is coming to the end of his stint and where he has the freshest of tyres, and we know how fast he can go on them.
Yeah, indeed. This was the best call for Ulrich, I think. Last stint will be a bit long, but well, if someone can do it, it should be him. So he was our pole sitter. He did extend that lead gap to, I think it was about 10 seconds more or less. So that's a huge gap to make in about 25 minutes, 20-25 minutes. So if he can regain that confidence and get back to those lap times, we'll have to see what happens.
Montoya and Dina still rounding out the top 3 as it stands.
Yeah, also staying out. Haggard back into P9, so someone has pitted in front. And
no, that was just Walters and Kaspering.
Oh yeah, indeed. As Herbillon is also running on the hard compound tires. He's only 2 positions back on Haggard. So, and we saw him staying on the hard compound, but he pitted quite early. So we'll have to see if he still needs to pit for some soft tires and maybe a splash and dash. Hopefully no splash, because that's then you got your first pit stop wrong. But
oh, that's very slow. Oh dear. Oh dear.
Yeah.
Uh-oh,
that's out of fuel, maybe? I don't think so.
That might be
Gets going again.
He gets going again. That says screen freeze or like connection issue.
Yeah, but he's back. Well, good for him. Dropped 2 positions, but he's back up and running. Renault Herbillon, my countryman. Benedek still staying out, so not by 1 or 2 laps, but he's staying out quite a long time after Ulrich has pitted. So that must be also psychological game for Benedek on Ulrich. If he stays out longer, Ulrich will start to wonder, when is he coming in? What's he doing? Why is he still in P1? Why is he still doing those lap times? Because I hope Ulrich can see on his timing and scoring what the gap to Benedek is, and if that's not coming down at the moment, he will start to worry. That's for sure.
If I was Ulrich, I'd be
He's in
now.
Benedek
He
is
in now, though. He is not a machine. He does have to come into the pits. He can't keep those tyres living forever. For 20 minutes, I mean, so what, 50 minutes gone? That's another pair of soft compounds pretty much confirmed as Montoya takes the lead for the second time this evening. But almost certainly won't be able to keep a hold of that. Where is Ulrich? He comes round the hairpin.
Yep.
At the end of the straight. This is going to be
down.
Very
he's
close
already
indeed.
out.
Benedek had a close call with a car there. And Ulrich is going to look up ahead and he's going to hope that Benedek is slow out the pits.
Nope,
but he is
isn't.
not slow out
He's
the pits.
there. He's right in front.
Benedek is ahead.
Yep, here he is.
With a fresh set of tyres.
Ulrich has his work cut out for him now.
I'd go as far as to say that's probably game over, unless Benedek has a spin.
Yeah, maybe. Could well be over, indeed. 20 minutes to go. Benedek just needs to warm these tires up as quickly as he can and keep setting those lap times. Haggard now up to P7 already.
Yeah, I think so. Dean has pitted as well, hasn't he? 'Cause he's down
Yes,
to
he
P5,
has.
so
Yep.
the best that Haggard can do is 6th at this point. As going wide is Ulrich again. I think it's a tale of setups here, Miguel. I really do. We look at how fast Ulrich was, and in that first stint especially, blisteringly quick, but Ulrich had to go onto the mediums, and Benedek did not. And that medium stint is ultimately what has killed Torsten's chances here.
Yeah, indeed, indeed. I think he might have just also pulled off that strategy, but just didn't think about it like we didn't in the beginning. But yeah, as Montoya is in as well, we'll have to see if he gets back out with the likes of Diener and Fiedler. Luckily the cars are drive-through in the pits. Got a bit worried there. Montoya rejoins in 3rd spot. And he's on the soft compound tire, and he's right there with Torsten Ulrich, I think. Yeah, that's Ulrich, that's Montoya.
What?
Yeah, that's very... that gap
Wow.
has come down massively.
I guess he must have fueled well, and this was literally just a tyre stop.
Yeah,
Well,
looks like it.
Montoya. I wonder, P2 is absolutely not out of reach, considering that he is the last of these 3 to pit.
Yeah, he has, what is it, 5-6 laps on Ulrich on the tires?
Yeah, it must be at least 5 or 6, yeah.
As
Ulrich.
yeah, Haggard into P5, so it was Fiedler who has come in, and
Fiedler
then
and Aragon.
yeah, they both came in. So Haggard in P5, whereas Krambeer, yeah, not too far back. We'll have to see if Krambeer can take that advantage. He's on the soft compound tire, but let's ride on board with Montoya, see how that body language of the car looks like. A bit wide there on the apex of the of turn 14.
Of course, as a young boy, you give me a chance to commentate on Montoya and positively squealing towards the ceiling. Ismail here, already in a podium position, as the great one Pablo had done many a times in many a car, but methinks that Ismail is going to be as motivated as ever here to try and chase down Torsten Ulrich. He was looking at P1 so comfortably, but as this race has evolved, that has very quickly become, oh, well, maybe P2 is going to be as good as it gets, and you've got to see what Montoya's pace is like in these early laps, but it might be P3 sooner rather than later. We're looking at Haggard as well, who's probably going to be doing, at best, P5 now. It's going to be a pure defensive drive from here on out. 2 very different stories for 2 very different drivers on 2 very different strategies.
Yeah, very different indeed. As Benedek has checked out, it seems not on the screen anymore. So it's Montoya versus Ulrich for P2 in this race. And again onto the back straight. They're still on the same back straight now, our top 3. Where's Diener? He's coming out of turn 13 now, so he's quite far back. And Haggard, once again, about 20 seconds, but I think, yeah, Krambeer almost there indeed.
He's got about, what, 5 seconds or so to Krambeer.
Yeah, there's one car in between, I think. That's not Haggard. Yeah.
Which, 15 minutes. 5 seconds seems like a long time, but when you've got a fresh-faced soft tyre runner going up against a hard tyre runner whose tyres are running out ever so slightly, ever so surely. It's going to be a tall order for Haggard to keep hold of P5 here.
Yes, indeed. We're back with Montoya, as Ulrich might be. No, thought he was suffering a bit of back markers, but he's already past them. So Montoya has to get past what looks like his teammate.
Yeah.
It's Luis Marugan, and I think that might be his teammate even. Also a Spaniard. Azot Aviani is back in the pits. He's dropping well down. That doesn't look like a scheduled pit stop to me. He was a bit further up. He was in the top 10.
Yeah, he came in a lot earlier. So presumably he's just decided, yeah, probably not going to make it to the end. Got to make a pit stop now. Might as well throw on the softs and see whether I can get fastest lap.
Yeah, maybe indeed.
So Benedek Ulrich, Montoya Dina, Haggard, Crambert, Kasperink, Walters Fiedler, and Botteo. The top 10 with pretty much all expected pit stops done and dusted. I do worry for Torsten Ulrich though. I'm really
indeed.
worried about his tyre life.
Yeah, he's going to start to suffer in about 5 to 10 minutes. He's going to really start to feel those tires are getting old. And Montoya got past his, well, I'm going to call him his teammate, Luis Marugan, very easily through turn 1. So you didn't lose any time there, which is always a plus. Let's have a look at Haggard. There he is, and Crambert is now he's right behind.
Wow.
Yeah, that's him.
Yikes! That didn't even take 5 minutes.
Nope.
And Haggard not being helped by back markers either. But you can just see how much easier it is to drive around these corners with the 2-tier compound difference. As I said just a few minutes ago, 5th the best that Haggard can hope for in this situation. I doubt he's going to make it to the end in that same position, however.
Yeah, if Crambert has DRS now, he might get past two of these cars. One of them not in a battle, but hitting the limiter already. Oh, we're going to go 3 wide.
Oh, Lucas! He was not going to risk it on that one. Wheel banging with the back marker. A little kiss in response.
Yeah.
And I think safety was the better part of valor on that one, Miguel, because
Yes,
Lucas
indeed.
could have sent it, and good on him. He did not risk it.
Yeah, and Haggard as well, very committed to get past that back marker as quickly as he could, and hoping that Crambert would need to stick behind for just 2 more corners, but he didn't. So now it's game on for Haggard to defend his P5 position here in this race.
Going to jig to the inside here. Not going to brake too late though.
Oh,
Going to
small lockup.
keep putting Haggard under pressure.
Gonna quickly check on Montoya and Ulrich. That gap is very, very small now.
Uh-oh.
Here it is.
Uh-oh. Torsten Ulrich. Oh, the
And he has 11
strategy.
more minutes to go.
It has unfolded poorly for the German. And though the lead might be out of sight of Montoya, second will be good enough. You can see how wide a berth Ulrich is taking. That is to try and help save the tyres. It basically means that they're not working as hard. He can keep them within temperature. It's a necessity at this point rather than a choice.
Yeah,
And it looks like Crambert has made his way past Haggard as well.
he has, yeah. Probably into turn 1.
You can see just how much more happy Montoya is, leaning into these apexes, leaning on the apexes. He's got the life in the tyres to do something. A little wiggle you notice from Ulrich. The rubber starting to make way for the bare bones of the inside carcass. 10 minutes to survive for Ulrich. It is looking a tall order from here.
Very tall indeed, yeah. Where's Benedek meanwhile? He has a healthy gap, about 4 to 5 seconds over Ulrich and Montoya, so this is Benedek's race to lose at the moment.
Oh, Montoya! Oh, he sent it!
He missed the move!
He sent it down the inside! To be fair, when we joined them on the back straight, we're like, we're probably going to see him get super close, but not an overtake. Montoya saw his chance, and he striked the dagger at the heart of Ulrich, and he got him good. Into second is now Montoya. Ulrich licking his wounds.
Yes, indeed. I don't think he can get back from that, but 10 minutes still to go, and to be honest, from all of these drivers still running, we haven't seen that many mistakes, and these cars are very difficult to drive. So hat off to everybody in this race, because very difficult to keep it tidy for 70 minutes in these cars, and it's not an easy track either. So a bit wide for Montoya.
I agree. It's so disheartening, isn't it, for Ulrich, seeing just how much of a gap already is starting to open, trying to close it down with the brakes. But I think that P2 battle is done and dusted. The question now is, with the better part of 8.5 minutes left for Montoya,
DRS?
Is Benedek catchable?
Oh, Ulrich, yeah, doesn't have enough gear. He has DRS, could have been up there, but just doesn't have the gear to get close or past Montoya right now. And looking at the last lap times, it's a 33.5 for Benedek, a 33.1 for Ulrich, and an invalid lap time for Montoya. But they are quite close. They are quite close. Here's Benedek just coming out of turn 2, and there's Montoya.
In 7.5 minutes at the pace that Montoya is going, there may yet be a battle for the lead. Is that Dina? No, Dina's actually way behind, isn't he? So Ulrich has got quite a bit of gap to work with. Just to nurse those tyres to the end.
Yeah, it will be nursing indeed. Well, Montoya not really running away with it, but he does seem to be very much in control and a lot happier with his tires than Ulrich at the moment.
And he does have a lap or two over Benedek as well.
Yeah, indeed.
But I guess Benedek's advantage is that he came out in the lead. He hasn't had to push on those tyres yet.
Not yet, no. He has just controlled that gap at the front, I think. Fastest lap of the race still for Ulrich with 32.8, but Benedek with a 1:32.9 2 laps ago. So very much on the pace. As we have our top 3 of the race on main straight here, and Montoya looking ever closer to Benedek.
You can tell he's pushing. He's gone wide twice there at the final corner.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to get caught out too many times, otherwise that's a call to the steward's room. But he wants this. He can smell it. He can tell. Benedek is potentially there to be fought with. But Benedek is a wily old customer as well. He has been in plenty of midfield scraps in the EWTCR. He knows what it's like to get his elbows out. And although this is very different machinery, he's also leading. Something which is, for any racing driver, kind of like the pinnacle. You do not want to let someone else have your P1.
No, and especially not in the last 5 minutes of the race. Again onto main straight. Where's Ulrich? No, he's too far back, yeah.
Messes up that exit to boot as well, riding the curb edge. No DRS yet for Montoya. Needs to work a little harder for it. But less than 5 minutes now. And with every second that ticks by, with every 10th that Benedek is able to take off, Montoya wide again.
Very wide.
And he is going to get called up on this if he's not careful.
Yeah, and just for comparison, during the Asia race this morning, fastest lap of the race was at 33.3. So these guys going quite a bit faster on ultimate pace than the Asian race this morning. But Montoya just needs to produce those magic lap times right now to get close to Benedek. He doesn't have a lot of time left. I think we will see 3 more laps, including this one.
I'd agree with that.
And just having a look here at Haggard. He's in 6th, and Walters...
Walters just coming under the bridge now. There it is.
Yeah. It's quite a bit of a big gap.
Yeah, I think Haggard might have that, honestly, unless he makes a mistake. Which, again, keep in mind, he's been on those tyres for the better part of 32 minutes now. Though, then again, you made a really good observation that he was looking comfortable when he came into the pits as well. So, in theory, he could potentially go longer and still be fine.
Yeah, I think I'm confident Haggard could keep P6 if he doesn't make any mistakes. Walters behind will really have to produce something very special if he wants to get that P6 from him. But 3 Germans inside the top 5, Ulrich, Diener and Kramberg. But Benedek, the Hungarian, yeah, that's his normal line, looks like.
He's redrawing the track, as some of my favourite commentators would say. Let's look back to Fiedler and Kasprink, by the way, in P8 and P9. Those two fighting and flurrying for position. A little kiss onto the hubcaps for you, good sir. And Kasprink holds on to P8 for now, but Fiedler's going to try and wrap it around the outside of turn 11 into turn 12 and gets it done into turn 13. That is a fabulous move from Jens Fiedler, but can he keep it now? Hopefully he should have DRS. He's going to go to the inside. No, it is Kasprink with the DRS, weaving and waving their way down the back straight, and it is going to be Kasprink who slots back in front.
Yeah, but Fiedler getting a penalty just now, ignoring slowdown warning, so he did get an advantage by cutting the track somehow. Did get a slowdown warning, and he's into the pits now. Drive-through penalty, unfortunately. But we did get to see that battle unfold until the end, so that's good.
And so that's probably going to be Fiedler out of the top 10.
Yeah.
I imagine. Where is Luis Madigan? Is this him coming along now?
Coming past, yeah.
Yep, and so down to P10 is Fiedler. Where is Philip Matzik? And he's going to be through as well.
Oh, speeding in the pit lane for Fiedler. He needs to come through again, so that's done and dusted. Yeah.
That is shocking. You can tell that he's frustrated, the tilt coming into full effect. But again, doesn't matter how angry you are, it doesn't matter how much red mist is surrounding you, you got to respect the rules.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, he will drop down, unfortunately. He was well inside the top 10, but will not finish there, unfortunately for him. As Montoya has Benedek within sight, but with 1 minute to go, will be very tough. Oh, as he goes wide there, it will be very tough to catch and pass him. That doesn't look like a possibility.
No, little bit too much. And as I said, Benedek, for this entire stint, he hasn't needed to press on his tyres too much, and so he's been able to save them even more so than the earlier stints. So it would have been a big effort for Montoya to catch Benedek in the first place, let alone attempt to overtake.
35 seconds to go. Will we see another lap? I don't think so.
Close.
Yeah, it's going to be close.
Let's go on board with Benedek, shall we, as we head towards the hairpin. This is going to be very close. I think we might actually be in for another lap. Oh, maybe not. It's going to be within the last few seconds. Because it is, the line is a lot longer along the pit straight than one would imagine. It is going to be right down to the wire. In fact, we are going to get another lap of this RaceRoom Grand Prix, which is just a gift that keeps on giving. Ismael Montoya's pain at being so close to a win, yet so far extended for another minute and a half.
Yeah, indeed, he's only 2 seconds back now, not within DRS range at the moment. Maybe this back marker can provide us with some spectacle still, but let's hope for no big dramas here in the final moments of this RaceRoom Grand Prix here at the Shanghai International Circuit.
Only cowards want to win through incident.
Yeah,
It's not a proper win unless you do it on track, and Ismael Montoya once again going to drawing classes. It's he's getting inventive. He's redefining what tarmac is, but unfortunately for him, whatever line he chooses here, it simply hasn't been enough. And Balint Benedek, to rub salt into the wounds, has a back marker ahead of him to pick up some slipstream. And look at David Walters there, who... Oh my God, is David Walters disconnected?
he's out of this race, yeah.
Oh my
Indeed.
God, last minute
Indeed.
drama. Oh, what a shame for David Walters. But
What a
around the
shame
final
indeed.
corner he comes. Balint Benedek, he didn't take pole position, but boy oh boy did he drive that with a masterful degree of calm and wonder and strategic class. Benedek, your winner, with Ismael Montoya P2. Torsten Ulrich will have to come home in P3, with Attila Dina and Crambert rounding out your top 5. Haggard on the one-stop strategy picks up P6 ahead of Michel Kasparink in P7. Luis Maragon will come home P8 with Philip Matzik and Luis Felipe Boteo, your top 10.
Yeah, so a great race here at the Shanghai Grand Prix circuit. It's not over yet. Some people are still driving. Boteo still having to do the final and very long back straight, and he has Ottaviani right behind him for the final top 10 spot.
So the chickens.
Yeah, indeed, this could well mean a position switch.
And remember, Alessandro came in for a pit stop, unscheduled, to put these soft tyres on. Is it going to prove to be the right call? Boteo desperately goes to the inside. He's always holding such an awkward line for Alessandro to try and navigate around. He breaks lace. He tries to close him in on the apex. Contact between the two. And I think he's just about going to do it.
Yes.
Yes, he is. Boteo, I tip my hat to you. That was an extraordinary effort. But this is going to get back. Oh, my goodness me. Ottaviani is just about going to take home P10 ahead.
No, he was behind. He was behind.
Oh, he was behind.
Yep.
Boteo did get it. Oh my words, my heart, my heart can't take it. Boteo with the undercut of the century, last corner to fend off a rampant Ottaviani. But up at the top, it's Benedek, Montoya, and Ulrich, your top 3.
Yeah. So a great race, and Gerardo Duran with the fastest lap of the race. He's down in P12, so he had the pace, but could not deliver to get inside the top 5, let's say. But a great showing by all of these drivers here at the RaceRoom GP from Shanghai, and a great showing for the whole evening, actually. A great action, great spectacle for the 3 races that we saw, I think, with the GT3 Cup cars and these FR X-17 monsters. Great action, very well behaved, and a lot of strategy involved in these. So, well, it was a pleasure to be commentating on these few races with you, James.
I could not echo those thoughts anymore. It's been a pleasure commentating with you as well. And if you guys want to get involved in the future, be sure to follow RaceRoom on all sorts of official channels. We've got Twitter, of course. You can subscribe here on YouTube. You can join our Discord, where hopefully there'll be a few more events like this going on in what are understandably testing times for all of us. And I guess that kind of leaves us to say, be sure to stay safe, follow your government advice, and just remember that even though we might not be able to see each other in person, we can still enjoy the wonder, the competition, the excitement of esports and sim racing through events like this. Big shout out to the guys behind the scenes for organizing it, the likes of Cy Fillingham, the likes of Robert Wiesenmuller. It's always a pleasure doing stuff in friendship and in there's a word that I'm looking for which is just escaping. Basically, I really love doing stuff with RaceRoom and with all of these guys. It's always a pleasure, and I don't know whether you've got any final thoughts, Miguel, on drivers that particularly impressed you or what you'd like to see going forward. But I'll give you the floor to say what you like.
Well, our race winners are the ones to congratulate, I think. Scolari, Pellegrini, and then here at the end, Beneke. Those were the top drivers of this evening, and indeed, I must echo your thoughts. Stay safe, stay at home, and enjoy some sim racing in the next days. There's plenty of content coming out in every day, every single day. So if you're into sim racing, this is a great time to be joining the fun with all of your friends across the world. And indeed, I'm pretty sure there will be some more RaceRoom Grand Prix events coming up very, very soon. But if you want to find out about those, just follow RaceRoom in whichever way you can. And if you like the stream here, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and you will be notified of any future videos.
Keep calm. Race on. I think that's pretty much everything from us today. So be sure to stay safe as always. Thank you so much for joining us. And from all of us here, it is a very warm goodbye.
Goodbye.